This episode of the Giant Bombcast is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. You are your greatest asset. It's time you started investing in that. Visit betterhelp.com/bombcast and take care of you.
Kamusta, Giant Bomb Kapamilya? Magandang umaga. Ako, si Jan Ochoa. Kumain ka na ba? Ito ang Kubanata 709. I had to bust it out because this is the last Tuesday of Filipino American History Month. And as I mentioned at the top, my name is Jan Ochoa. Jason A. Stryker out on assignment today. But joining me, the most jolliest crew in all of video game podcasts. It's on a list somewhere. We occupy all 10 spots. Even though it's a top 20, we still occupy the first 10, the bottom 10, all 20, baby. All 20. Joining me, Jeff Gerstmann.
I want to take back what I said about, in the pre-show about the house band. I think my new house band, it would be Shadow the Hedgehog doing that pumpkin rap.
Okay, yes.
For everything. It would just be that one song would be the theme to everything that we do. Got to get the emeralds. It would just be that. It would just be that.
Yeah, I think we could just pay Shadow the Hedgehog in like bullets.
No, maybe. I think if you pay that guy money, he steals it from. I think that guy is out there has been out there robbing people on the internet, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
As I believe the voice of Parappa the Rapper has done maybe some of that as well.
Is it like a cameo sitch type of deal?
I think it's like send me some money and I'll record a thing for you, and then like, haha, fuck you. Like, wow, I'm not gonna do nothing. Like, I believe that is how that went. Yeah.
Speaking about Shadow the Hedgehog, we got our own Shadow the Hedgehog.
I'm sorry, it was Knuckles. It was Knuckles. Yeah.
Okay, right. Because Idris Elba said it's not going to be Sexy Knuckles, but our Sexy Knuckles on the team, Jeff Bacalar.
Thank you for calling me sexy. Appreciate
Sexy
that.
Knuckles, it's a whole thing, you know.
Yeah, I got sexy knuckles. Everyone knows about that.
That's why you like
my thing.
That's why you like the keyboards, because it shows it off.
Yeah,
well.
I got to stare at something. Might as well be a sexy pair of knuckles. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Speaking about a sexy pair, we got Danny O'Dwyer.
Hey, what's up? Can I get sexy tattooed on one of my knuckles and knuckles tattooed on the other?
No, just KNUX.
Sexy knucks.
Oh, nice.
All right, and this pretty much is almost like a pre-show question, and it's a hockey-related thing. So instead of asking Jeff Backler, I'm going to ask Ben Pack. Ben Pack, is the knuckle puck the most powerful move in hockey?
Oh, I mean, as a child, you learn that really early on. So yeah, it definitely is. And Jan, I just want to thank you for having a bobo like me along in your podcast.
Yep. That's my guy.
I learned how to. The fun thing about Dota is it teaches you a lot of ways to insult and curse at people in other languages as you play more Russian, Portuguese, Tagalog, Spanish. The list goes on.
The list goes on. And you know what else goes on is the giantbomb.com survey we got going on. I see this in our show notes, and Backlar said, do it at the top. So we're doing it at the top.
Yeah, Dad.
We got some fun questions there.
Yeah, the cops are here. They want to know about you.
Submit your papers.
Known cop, Jeff Bacalar. Real stickler for authority.
That's right, that guy.
That guy.
I just want to know about people. It's been a long time since we run one of these things, you know. It's we used to run one not annually, but it was just a handful of times. Sometimes it would be like podcasts companies would want to know who listens to this show, so we know which brand of ball shavers to sell.
Right. Like how big are those balls?
Right. We forgot the how big are your balls question.
We can always add it in later. Don't worry.
Is that why people canceled premium? Is because their balls are too big? We're not offering up enough.
We can't handle them. We're not built for that kind of ball. Do you know what I mean?
Big ball content.
Yep. Okay. All right.
That's what the early results seem to indicate. More big ball content.
I mean, speaking of early results, there's been a lot. So thank you to everyone who has participated in this thing.
Well, don't say that, because then no one else will do it. You have to say the opposite. You have to say, "Oh no, no one's done it."
no.
Look, I run a
Yeah,
Patreon, man. I know the tricks. You gotta really.
Well,
you gotta
destroyed all the servers where the answers were. We need you to do it again, even if you did it.
Hit F5 on that shit as much as you
Right.
can.
Send it to your
no.
parents, your old. Stick it on Facebook so your old high school they can fill it in.
Tattoo it on your forehead. Put it on
spread it in your networks.
bumper sticker. Spread it around. Make sure it goes on nice and even. And giantbomb.com/survey. Super simple.
Okay, is this
Super
going to
simple.
throw off the results if we add additional questions and answers now?
No, I think we can. I think we can fuck it up as much as we can right now.
Okay.
I think we can do that.
I don't think I did
As,
well
as
in
long as you're
stats
not
class.
actually looking for real scientific results.
Okay.
Yeah.
You because a certain percentage of like probably most of the surveys have already been taken, right? So if you added a bunch of questions now or added a bunch of adding questions would be fine, but if you added new answers to existing questions, it would be unfair to those new things you added.
It would be, but we could also tell which ones got added later on. Also, I feel like I'm curious to know how many people responded before the show goes out, and how many before, which we can look at too, which is just interesting.
What's the
again,
one question you
we're
would have
cops,
added?
So
we
if
want
you-
to know.
I would want to know how, on a scale of 1 to 5, how much do people hate Jan? We just said binary. Do you yes or no?
Yeah.
It's
There's
true.
many granular levels of detail that you could go into for an
I
answer
hate his
like
face. I hate his hair. I hate
Yeah.
his. Just go down the
He's
list.
too nice,
And
whatever
I'm
it
fine
is.
with that because then I occupy that much of someone's brain space.
Yes.
They hate me
Don't
that
let that
much.
real
They're
estate-
thinking about me all the time.
the face turn
Take
will
up
be
that real
beautiful.
estate, baby.
Yeah.
They all
That's
hate
how
me
podcast
for-
money is made. How do you think Joe Rogan does it?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
People hate that fucking guy. He sucks shit.
Jana
People
got bad news.
aspire
You're
to
gonna
suck
need to
shit
start.
that way.
Oh no.
You gotta start
They
taking
all-
a lot of DMT, Jan.
Oh, more?
I mean, a lot more.
A lot more. You're making too much sense lately.
And human growth hormone. You're gonna need to get your head's gonna have to get real big and bald, dude. I'm
You
sorry.
need that human hot dog look.
You're gonna also have to adjust the ball answer from earlier.
Oh man, that redefines the term glizzy gladiator, doesn't it?
It really does.
Anyway, we have
Yeah,
some.
I
Go
just
ahead.
wanted to finish up the survey conversation with again a serious thank you. You're gonna help decide what kind of NFTs we actually go ahead with.
Dude, there was a fucking tweet right before the show started where it was Interpol
Adobe?
and David Lynch are combining, and I was like, I like both those. Oh, sorry, not David Fincher, not David Lynch. They're
okay.
combining, and it was like, yeah, of course. Within fucking 15 seconds, it ends up being an NFT. You're like, fuck it.
Yeah. So again, help
Everything's
us
the worst.
decide those things.
I thought you were going to talk
That's what
about
we're saying.
Adobe saying hey, connect your profile to your Behance stuff to your
Oh,
crypto
yeah.
wallet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
two GMs ago, two general managers ago, we had a guy who was interested in cryptocurrency to a certain extent. And it makes me wonder, there was definitely an element of just you guys should get in. We were jokingly talking about a fake cryptocurrency
remember
bomb
that.
coin thing.
Bomb coin.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and
Theoretically, if we did have this, what kind of features could we do with this?
but then there was this sudden element included of just but what if you really did it? And it was oh, we can't talk about this ever again. We have to just turn this knob down to 0 and walk away from this very stupid idea before it becomes even stupider, but in the wrong way. And yeah.
You liked the ironic joke version of it, but then it crossed into the reality space. way
Yes,
too
when
quick.
suddenly it was but what if it was really on a blockchain? It was what if I really walked out of here and didn't come back?
Are you telling
Dude or
me
coin.
there's a monetary value to these giant bomb coins we sold?
Yeah, those
No,
challenge
not-
coins. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
there's only a handful of those made, and those are probably at least worth at least $4.3 million by now.
They're fungible too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Super fungible.
If anyone ever sees me on the street and you present a giant bomb challenge coin to me, I will do a backflip in front of you.
Hey.
Do I know how to do a backflip? I don't. But I'll try my damnedest.
Seems dangerous, but shit. Okay.
You know what else is dangerous? Video games.
They always said it.
They always said it. A little bit light-ish on the releases coming out. We got one big one that just won't stop jibber-jabbering. Guardians of the Galaxy. Jeff and Danny, y'all have played this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Look, I'll say this, okay? I've seen a lot of high praise being thrown at this game, and while I
feel like the praise I saw was mostly middling. Like when I dug into it a little bit, it was a little more like, I mean, I didn't hate it. Like, okay, it wasn't as bad as the trailers. Like, all right.
It seems surprised.
I think because the trailer set a certain sort of expectation, set a certain sort of bar for this game that was pretty low, I feel like. And now that I've spent a couple more hours in there, I'm having enough of a decent time with it that I'm probably going to see the end. I'll probably do that.
Okay.
I've said this a few times. It is very much like a 2008 ass game in a lot of ways. Like it is super linear and incredibly direct, and just sort of like it has like this little sort of ride that you go on, and then that's about it. The combat leaves a lot to be desired. I pretty much don't even find it that much fun. Just sort of.
I was gonna say you're probably deeper in.
Ways.
You're probably deeper in than I am, and so my combat question is: does it become more readable? Because I feel like the first handful of encounters, once you get the full squad together, it's this element of just like, well, I know what everyone does. I know Groot can root people, and I know that what's his face can like cause stagger damage to stun someone, and what lady cuts him good. That's her name, right? Lady Cuts Him Good.
Yeah.
And so like that part was easy, but the part of just like, okay, there's like a bunch of shit happening in front of me, and like highlighting and locking onto the enemy that I actually want them to jump felt like more of a hassle than it was worth. And I would almost rather they just fight on their own, to a point of just like, yeah, I don't know, like just do your thing and whatever. Like ordering them around ended up being a little more frustrating than I thought it should be with the way the encounters were built.
I'm sorry, could you even break it down a little more simply? Because I haven't seen like really any of this game. You're mostly controlling Star-Lord then?
You only control, you control Star-Lord. Your team around you has abilities, and you can basically call in those abilities on specific targets. And so
otherwise it's like third-person action.
Totally. Otherwise you have two guns and it has active reload, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's... it's pretty simple.
To answer your question, no. I feel like for me, I'm playing this game, and anytime I'm in the battle thing, I'm just sort of spinning these plates where I'm just like, is this one cooled down yet? No? Okay. Like I'm just sort of rotating and alternating through all four of my teammates to to no end of like strategy or kind of, figuring out like the best. I don't have like a preferred method. Rocket throws like a grenade, and that seems real powerful, and that seems like the thing I kind of default to first. But yeah, like that is not where this game shines. This game for me is enjoyable.
How far are you? Have you done like the Hellbender stuff or?
No, like 4 or so.
Yeah, so I feel like you guys are still like finding so. Later in the game, so they each of like the 4 Guardians, you included, I guess there's 5 then, right? They don't just have one special. There's actually like 4 slots, so you'll keep upgrading and finding different ones. And like at the start, it's very much like you can kind of use anyone for whatever. But the further you get into it, like enemies, it does become like that sort of combat chess of like there are certain enemies that like you may have seen in one of the earlier levels where you need to use the freeze to kill the jelly things, right? Like
so it becomes more
right?
like ability specific.
Totally, to the point where even boss fights come down to like, oh, when this happens, I need Groot to hold something down, so then I can get Rocket's the only one that has a projectile, so I'll get him to do that. Like Drax is able to take down shields, so I'm doing that. So I'm not sure if it fixes the like readability problem that Gersman's having, because I still feel like that's the only time I'm able to really see the battlefield is when you use Star-Lord's like hover
jet thing.
Yeah, that's the only it's otherwise it's a little bit all over the place, and I've died a couple of times from not realizing there's a shitload of people behind us, for instance. But definitely like combat, like I don't think it ends up being like the most complex thing, but it's definitely ends up being more like engaging and tactical the later you get in, because you kind of have to think about the different abilities and stuff. Yeah.
Does Star-Lord's weapon ever evolve past the little pea shooters he starts out with? Or
not that I've seen.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, sorry, they do. They end up getting these like elemental buffs. So there's
like 2 fire buttons, basically, right? Like at that point.
Yeah, you can use, I think it's R1 to use the elemental one, which is like they have like ice, and I'm assuming there's a fire one or some other type of one as well, which are used in like specific locations to like slow things down, or it's still kind of like Bacala was saying, it kind of it feels kind of throwbacky, because every once in a while it's very linear, and every once in a while there's like a quick time event, and there's like puzzles that have to be finished in like one specific way, but it's all kind of, I like the way that you really are like managing those people by a certain stage in that, like you can't win the fights on your own. Like if you didn't tell them to do stuff, you'd never kill anything. And I think that's cool.
No, that's good to know that it definitely evolves beyond where Jeff and I are at. I feel like I also can't grasp the tangible sort of benefits to like those quick fighting grades you get. And like, for me, it's almost more distracting than anything else. I kind of just don't, I feel like I don't want that. But
I think for me, it was like the combat, and just to maybe get all our combat talk here in a row. But like, I think for me, a lot of it was like, okay, yeah, there's the elements of just like, okay, I need to target, like, obviously this bigger enemy needs to be staggered, and then I could probably call in Gamora or whatever to do the attack thing, her kind of high damage ability, at least the starting one. But then there's just a feel to Star-Lord, like it's that from that very first combat encounter where they're like, you can also melee these little goo balls, and the melee is this dumbest, slowest wind-up animation kick, like the most non-gameplay looking thing in the world, of just like, all right, this feels like shit. Like that specific thing. It's not like a quick melee attack that you're like, okay, I'm shooting guns, doing a melee. It's like, oh, this guy got close, and it's like, and he does this big dumb kick or like, and that stuff just felt really crazy. But I guess in service of like, hey, you're supposed to be using the whole team, maybe that sort of makes sense. But I don't know, for me, it's
a little heavy, like even like the platforming and stuff, right? I always feel like I'm never gonna make a jump, it always feels like,
right, like you got your double jump, or you can jump and dash and do some stuff like that to get places. And also, it's a game that really feels like, or at least like early on, it felt this way, in terms of you have a scan visor that is going to highlight objects in the environment, and it's not a great mode to play the game from, but damn, you sure feel like you kind of want to, because you don't want to miss anything. And that felt like this is the thing that Batman figured out with Detective Vision like a decade ago. Like, we don't do this anymore. Why is this happening? Like that sort of thing. I don't know. Like those were the big gameplay things for me that kind of just started pushing me away from it as soon as I started playing. It was just like,
how did you feel about the story stuff? Because I feel like that's like a thing that's either going to repel people or pull them in.
Yeah, I hated it. I thought those movies were fine. Like, I'm not a huge Marvel guy, but those are probably the best of the handful of Marvel movies I've seen, as far as I can tell. Or my favorite, I guess.
Sure.
Worth noting that this game, while it doesn't feature like the actors and the likenesses of those characters, it's very much in that James Gunn style, right? It has that same vibe of those movies, pretty much.
I think
it
so.
Seems like
I've
they're
not read
going for
the
it.
Comics or anything. So
yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about the comics either. So yeah, I do know that they are trying very hard with their 80s soundtrack and that sort of stuff, and I think that's, I don't know, cloying or whatever. So the story stuff, like, I found myself so like brushed off, like just being pushed so far away by that stuff that when the things pop up mid like as you like there's a lot of, it felt like there's a lot of downtime between combat so that they can all just talk all the time.
Yeah.
And occasionally it'll pop up and be like, hey, do you want to side with this character or this character? And those are the things that like ostensibly should be the cool bits of like, oh, this is going to change some character interactions and this sort of stuff. But like most of the time, the things they were arguing about, I cared about so little that I just didn't even push anything. It was just like, because there's always an option to stay silent. And I was just like, I'll just do this because I don't care. I don't care if Rocket or Groot is right. I just don't fucking care. And I think a lot of that is the voice acting. I feel like for most of the characters, it's fine. For Star-Lord specifically, it's like, it makes me want to turn the game off bad. Wow. Like there's a halfway to a pop punk vocalist thing. Like it's just like this, like, you know, it's not like they're trying to be a sound alike to the movies or anything like that per se. But it was just every word coming out of dude's mouth made me want to turn that game off, to the point where when they get up to the point where it's like, hey, by the way, you have an ultimate attack when some of your guys are down, you can give a pep talk and get them back up. I was like, great, listen to this motherfucker talk some more. No thanks. And I think by that time I was pretty well done with it.
So it's like if Machine Gun Kelly were like captain of a space team.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely got that look to him to a certain extent.
So in you skipping past like those dialogue prompts, and it's kind of like a Mass Effect of like, oh, I'm gonna side with this person or this person. You didn't find it to have like an effect at all.
I mean, it's the sort of thing that like if that is going to pan out, it's going to pan out way later, right? You know, or
yeah.
You know, in a more meaningful way.
Yeah, like there are ones where like the conversations will end up being like, you know, I think they had this in one of the E3 trailers, right, where like one of the Guardians has to like kind of sacrifice himself to do a certain thing in a level, or like there's an instance like at the start where you like you basically like say you have a piece of contraband on the ship and you pick which one it is, and now the thing that I did like 2 missions later has seemingly had an effect, but I don't know if that's just a palette swap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That like it would have happened if the other one had been picked. For what it's worth, I do not like Marvel movies a lot of the time. The non sequitur comedy, it doesn't get me. I like the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie fine. I didn't really like the second one. I really like the story in this, and I don't like. I think some of it is because I came in with very low expectations. Not caring about Marvel and not caring about anything else, but for whatever reason, I don't really connect with the Guardians of the Galaxy movie characters, so maybe that's something to do with it. I think Rocket is really good. I think Drax is hilarious. I think he's like, I like the Batista one, but Drax in this is like the reason I keep playing, because some of the lines he has, I think in particular, have like made me chuckle a bunch. And there's like an interesting plot that's happening now with Star-Lord and some other characters from his past, which I like. I think the thing that I like the most about it though is just like the worlds are really weird and novel and strange. The enemies are kind of bizarre. Like you're fighting jelly cubes for a large part of it.
Right.
Noodle monsters.
Totally. It's just really weird stuff. And like it's trying. Like because I don't find the dialogue stuff as grating, and I totally see how people could, because that's how I feel about most Marvel movies. Because I don't feel that way, I'm actually really liking the fact that it's not doing too much combat, because that would get boring. It's not doing too much of the story stuff, because that would get boring. It's mixing up the areas just enough to keep me going in a way that, like, say, the Avengers didn't, where there was like too much combat and there wasn't enough variety. Sure. It was all on Earth, and it just blended together for me. So at least at this stage, I'm still playing it, but it's
I think that's the thing that I kind of came away from it, at least so far, was this feeling of just like it has a whole lot of things going on, and I don't know that I especially like any one of those things, but at least it's kind of going for it in a way that, like the Avengers maybe doesn't. That said, I finished the Avengers campaign because I thought that story was pretty good, despite not especially enjoying playing it at all. Whereas with this, I'm just like, I don't want to listen to this fucking guy talk anymore.
Right. What if I told you that everyone just loves clowning and dogpiling on Star-Lord?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? He's supposed to suck, right? Yeah. Like that's the bit.
But he's doing it too much.
Yeah, it's at a point where like I'm right there with it, and it's like I don't have to do this. Like I've got more Metroid to play. Like fuck this. Like what am I doing to myself? Why would I do this? So yeah, I don't know. There's a part of me that thinks like, oh, maybe I should go back to it, and yeah, like it sounds like it picks up as you get some more things. But man, I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna make time for it.
It feels like one of those games that is like it is very hard to figure out if somebody will like or not like this game beforehand. Because so much of it depends on tone and kind of like I feel like your expectation going into it, like Bacalar was saying, like it is very linear and almost like throwback licensed video game style, but there is more layers to, like, it's not as one note as those games, because those games, like the combat in the first level was the same as the last level, right? So it's evolved a bit with the times, but yeah, like I can totally see. I feel like they're like, if you watch the quick look and you vibe with like the early story beats, I think that's probably a good indication of whether or not you'll feel like it's for you. But it's so hard. Yeah, I've been surprised by just how sort of up and down people have been on various. There seems to be no like consistent thought on.
I think I kind of went into it kind of prepared to be totally wrong. Like, oh, the trailers were all wrong. This game's awesome. And because the trailers were so bad.
Yeah,
like
I
the way they showed it pre-release, it was like, boy, this thing's a dog. Like, what the fuck are we doing? And I was like, I bet it'll come in and it'll actually somehow be totally rad. And I was like, nope.
Yeah,
nope. It's not quite as bad as those trailers, but I can't.
I left that quick look thinking that, man, I might actually want to check this out. But my question for you, Danny, is in that quick look specifically, like 90% of it was walking and talking. Does the pace of it change? Or is like the story stuff like really top heavy and then it becomes dispersed throughout?
I would say, I think if you were to take an hour of that game, you could end up getting an hour of combat, an hour of talking, an hour of half and half, an hour of cutscene with 20 minutes of each. It's that the pacing is done over like these fairly large periods. I feel like that there is a lot of talking in it, but like for instance, the level I just did now is probably a good like 30-40 minutes of pure combat with a massive boss fight at the end of it. So if you'd played that part, there wouldn't have been much story at all. So it's what the pacing that it does, it's not like it's going combat story cutscene every 10 minutes. It's spread out over longer periods than that. Some of the some of the parts as well are kind of like not combat, but also not just walking and talking. Like there's sort of light puzzle stuff in some of it too. We're kind of doing a bit of both, but yeah.
Neat.
Yeah, I feel like we got on it at a big onboarding, like expositional, crawl up to the apex, and it doesn't really come crashing down on the other side there with like a ton of action. Now that I've played a little bit beyond that, but yeah, there is something about it. I don't know what it is. Whatever chemical in my brain is like kind of fun, like I'm just listening to it, and I'm not as like Jan. It was funny. Jan left that quick look. It was like, yo, sign me the fuck up. Rory was like, burn it. Rory's like, burn it to the ground.
Right, and like Jeff and me, and like, it's just like impossible to figure out if I don't know what it is about this game.
I can't remember the last time a game was, I don't want to say polarizing, but it's just all over the place.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. It seems like a solid rather than a dud or anything. Thanks for unpacking all of that, gents. Speaking about unpacking, Danny, you've been unpacking.
I have. I was going to talk about this last week, but I couldn't make it. I was feeling a little bit under the weather. Yeah, this game came out. I played it on Steam. I don't know if it's on anything else. It is. It's on everything. It looks like actually Switch, Xbox One, Series X. So I guess it's not on PlayStation quite yet. Yes, this is a game. So isn't there like a word for this in Japanese or something? There's like a There's like for like placing things nicely in a room, right? I forget. It's like an art. It's not obviously not like feng shui or anything, but
Kondo stuff.
I'm very uncultured, so I wouldn't know what it is. But it's basically a game where you've almost got like sort of an isometric kind of diorama look at this beautifully drawn room, kind of like IKEA style, sort of angles, and you basically have a bunch of cardboard boxes, and you just put stuff away. You put your teddy bears on your bed, or you put your books on your shelf, or you put your PC here, and it's telling a story, because at the start it's like your first bedroom as a little, I believe it's a girl you're playing, and then you go to college and you get your college room, and it's set as if you were sort of like, I'm 35. It seems like it's pretty close to my age, where like they're in college and they have a big CRT and a tower, and like there's consoles as well. Like when they're a teenager at one stage, it kind of looks like a GameCube is there, and you're unpacking into these various rooms. It sort of expands on that, where like you're dating someone and you have to like pack in with their stuff and find space, and then things happen and whatever. So I'm like up in the sort of middle ages of this person now. I haven't completed it quite yet, and it does get a little bit samey after a while, especially as like much like Gerstmann knows probably all too much about right now, you end up owning a lot of the same shit in your life, so you just keep unpacking things that you probably unpacked before. So there's a lot of that where I'm like, it's definitely doing that. And like I have a young daughter, and also like this is kind of like era wise feels close to my age, so it's hard to play it. Like it's pulling those strings, those heartstrings, just a little bit. But it's a very chill. Like if you just want to like just check out a screenshot of it, you know exactly what this game is. And I think it was designed by some people who like did like UI design and stuff, and it feels like that. It's very like clicky and magnetized and stuff.
Can you just leave some stuff in boxes for years until you move again?
Unfortunately, it'll give you shit if you like try and put the like the pots and pans in the bathroom. It'll be like, nope, you gotta. And
man.
And there are some like odd conventions here that like stuff where I was like, are you sure like I can't put my toaster over there? Like I'd like, or like if you can't just have a knife out on the counter, it has to be on a chopping board. Like just little
safety
things like that. Yeah. But it's neat. Is
this a
cool
sad
thing.
chill game though?
It's not sad, but it's what's the word for like nostalgic or something like that?
Wistful.
Nostalgic and wistful, yeah, it can kind of cut both ways, right? So
okay,
seems like the sort of thing that will eventually have a sad turn.
Yeah,
it's had one already, and now it's kind of having a happy one. But I bet it'll have like it'll have like a life. Is a circle
like
or
I'm just gonna
something,
guess here because I haven't even seen a screenshot of this game. This game ends with your offspring going through your shit.
Oh no!
Right,
God.
right.
I don't know,
I
but
mean,
maybe now.
Right? Because you're dead.
man.
Man.
And then they're packing you into
a coffee can, and then
Ben, you may be muted.
This game takes place over like the course of 50 years, and
That's awful. It's just like an
I was saying
urn,
it has-
and it's New Game Plus with an urn.
yeah.
It's the Red Dead Redemption ending.
Yeah, 100%. Yep. Okay.
they were showing demos of this during E3, right?
Yeah,
feel like-
during
Yeah,
the
I'd
indie
seen it.
showcase, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how this would play on a controller, I'll say that, because you're moving a lot of stuff. Like some of the levels, it's like 4 rooms. You got your bathroom, kitchen, living room, bedroom, and maybe an office as well, or a kid's room. And then like there's multiple boxes, and it's a lot of like fine motor. So I haven't played it on a console or Switch, but I would not want to. So I don't know what they've done to fix that issue, but you're doing a lot of click, 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 click with a mouse. So I'd be interested to hear what people think of the console versions.
Fantastic. Danny, you've also been checking out, I'm assuming this is Chivalry 2.
Yeah, I just want to give a quick one to I just spent like
please.
the past 3 weeks doing a documentary on how swords work in Chivalry, and then they put it out yesterday, and then today they release a game mode that is just like a bar fight. It's like
Can't wait for
No
the follow-up
weapons.
video about fists.
I know it's no weapons except shit you can just pick up. So it's just free for all.
Great.
It's a free update for Shiv 2, and yeah, you're just like basically a bar fight starts, and then you're just picking up chairs and like smashing them and picking up pumpkins. And I found a knife in one corner of the place and threw it in a dude's head. I already thought Shiv 2 was as close to Half-Life 2 Deathmatch as any game I'd ever played, and this mode is just 100% that. It's nonsense.
You're selling me.
Okay. Now I think I'm finally gonna install this. Like that sounds awesome. That sounds real.
Was Chivalry 2 the game, Ben, where you could just like yell? Or is that
Well, yeah, I mean, Chivalry 1 had that. Mordhau, which was the
Mordhau.
one we were probably playing together, had that. And I'm sure Danny, Chivalry 2 has a dedicated yell button.
It does. It has you press C for its battle cry, and it's the one where you just go running, and it does nothing. I thought it made them.
No. I mean, it has a mental effect.
It has a mental effect. I thought it made you run faster. I thought it was like the knife in Counter-Strike, but it was all in my head. You don't actually go faster.
Speaking about all in my head, I've been playing a game that I still am not sure it's completely real. Dungeon Encounters. We checked this out on UPF. It's a dungeon crawler. When I first saw a screenshot, I thought you were like doing RPG crossword puzzles, which sound cool, but you basically have a board and it's formatted like a bunch of tiles, kind of like a maze, not really a maze. And each floor of the dungeon, you are filling out each of these squares. So you're just running across them. And on the map of tiles are sets of random numbers. Some of these numbers correspond to, oh, this is a healing fountain. This is a resurrection station. Oh, you can get an ability here. You got to equip it at station number 3, I think. And then other little number pips will have info on the different monsters you'll encounter, or sometimes you'll meet a whole new character and they can join your party. But then you'll come across random battles where you and your party, because it's an RPG, you are taking on random monsters. So you have a party of 4, but you have a giant pool of maybe like 10 or 15 random playable characters. And the combat system's interesting because each enemy and each character that you control, they have a physical damage meter, a magical damage meter, and then their HP meter. So you have to work your way and whittle down either the physical or magical damage, and then you can get to the juicy cake inside and start slicing and dicing at the HP. And it's just weird. It's weird that Square put this out. Like this
feels like a gray box demo or something. Like of just like, hey, we're not. This is what we're going to use to get a green light, and we're taking this into a meeting. Can we make this the right way? No? Okay, well, we got this at least. Let's put it out. Okay, that's weird. But okay, we'll put it out. Like, it's such a strange look.
Yeah.
But like, it to me, it has that kind of like almost, I say rogue-like, meaning it reminds me of actual original Rogue in some weird way. But like that style of game, your mystery dungeons and whatnot of walking around doing this stuff. And it seems like the RPG combat from watching you play it seems like, hey, it's a proper full-on Final Fantasy-esque system to fight monsters. But the rest of it is just like walk around on these squares and look at numbers. Like they didn't like, well, we could draw art for the revival station. No, just put it, that's number 7. Put a 7, just write a 7. They'll know.
Yeah, it's wild because it feels like this is a mini game in a Final Fantasy game or something. Like this is how you upgrade your abilities or upgrade your weapon somewhere. Like
this is like a PSP game. It's like,
I mean, it's like, having the whole thing where it's like 7 is a healing station is very much just like Rogue. Like you're saying, like people know that this asterisk is a player, and people know that like an O is an ogre, and you need to run away from the O if you don't have the right sword.
Fucking Dwarf Fortress.
Oh, yeah. It's neat also because they give you
cheap,
the
right.
It's like $20. It's available on Switch, Steam, and I think PlayStation as well.
Was it 20 or was it 30? I want to
30.
say. I want to say it was 30.
I might have
I feel like
on like
the other side of some line in my head of just like, it's 30.
I think I might have gotten it for 20 because it was like a launch bonus sale or something. But
it's
yeah,
24 on sale at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, 24. Yeah, you're right.
But
it's
playing it on
full price.
The Nintendo Switch. And if there was any Switch,
it's on Steam.
Switch game out there, this is for sure it. They also let you speed up how fast you walk and how fast you battle. So I don't know what that appeals to other than filling up the board faster. But it's neat. I don't know. It's cool to see Square put out weird shit. I just can't help but think in the back of my head, because my head is poisoned, that somehow this is going to become either a Kingdom Hearts offshoot game or it's going to become like a mini game in Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
Where you fight a giant raid at the end, and the raid is a crossword puzzle.
It's like this weird thing where it feels like if they actually did the work to flesh out this art, the game would be, no one would be talking about it.
No,
it would just be like, all right, yeah, no, it's just like a really average kind of dungeon crawler. Like you could do better elsewhere, but because it looks so stripped back, like it suddenly has an aesthetic, and you're like, yeah, no, I'm kind of into, number 13 is going to be where I'm going to go over here, and it works. I mean, like,
yeah,
it's like, fucking crazy, but it works.
We're talking about it still occupying space in my fucking brain. Minimalism, I guess. The kids are into it, huh?
Yeah.
What else are the kids into? Ben Pack? Are they in for blood? Are they? Do they like blood?
Do children
do
like
the kids
blood?
Like blood?
I just want to make sure the question you're asking me is, do kids like blood? No, right?
No,
like
I don't know.
Freak out if they start bleeding, right?
No, say it was their own blood.
It's not a threat or an offer. Okay, it's just.
Hey,
I guess
kid,
if you're
like blood?
If you're unwrapping a steak and there's a little bit of blood in there, that's kind of exciting.
Kids
I guess.
love that shit.
No,
Kids
that's
love
not
it
blood.
medium rare.
Halloween is coming up. They could dip their hands into some blood, and it could be like chocolate pudding.
Get a blood capsule and bleed from the mouth. Some kids, kids, would think that would be cool.
I would think that was cool.
As a kid, I just ate all my blood packets. I didn't really understand what you're supposed to do with
You ever do the ketchup thing where it's like, oh no, I'm bleeding from the mouth, and it's just ketchup?
Yeah.
I think if you ate enough
What a
blood packets,
wonderful
you could
goof
like
that is.
get sick blood, like because that'd be
get blood
that'd be
sick?
good. Yeah, that'd be really, really freak some people out.
Yeah, that's what we want. Yeah.
Well, you know what freaks me out?
They make blood suppositories so I can really scare people around Halloween time.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, dude.
All right, I'll add that to the survey.
Okay.
Okay.
Back for blood.
Back for blood.
I'm playing Back for Blood.
Oh, you like blood?
He's back. Ben Pack is back for blood.
Hack for blood.
I've got
There we
one
go.
foot back in back.
There we
I've
go.
got 1 foot back in for blood. It's all right, man. I
I
really
think we
wanted
said
to
the
like
same
this
thing
game.
last week.
Well, no, I mean last week I it was still pretty early on with my time for it. I really, really wanted to like this game. I really wanted to. Left 4 Dead 2 was my most played Xbox 360 game. Actually, it might have been Street Fighter 4, but it was definitely up there. I played a lot of Left 4 Dead 2. Loved those games. Playing with friends, even playing with randos sometimes. So I was all ready for this to like be just like, we're back. We got another Left 4 Dead. It's Left 4 Dead 3. It's got everything you would want from a Left 4 Dead. And that's, I don't know, two-thirds of the way true, I feel like. I've run into some frustrations over the last week with the game. I don't know. Has anyone else really?
I've been playing it.
So
Dipping.
we talked last week kind of about the general gameplay. I'm still. There are things that I really do enjoy in it. I think the gunplay is quite nice. All the weapons feel very unique. That was something that Left 4 Dead 2 didn't really, and Left 4 Dead 1 didn't really do. It's like you either had a shotgun, and there was like maybe an auto shotgun, or you had like an assault rifle. And it was like either like auto or 3-round burst. Those were kind of your like, and then pistols and melee weapons. All the weapons in this game feel quite unique from each other. Even within the ARs, there's quite a difference in how they shoot and how they feel. The pistols I really like in the game. They're quite nice. And now that I've gotten more supply points and stuff unlocked, I really like the card system. I think there are some cards you would lock later on that really are like, they kind of like in a single card will show you like, this is a viable build. Have you considered doing this? Like the most recent one I've been rocking is one. It's like a 2-card combo that really make it work. One is it lets you equip 2 main
Primary
weapons.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm dual wielding SMGs, and then there's a card called Admin Reload, where whenever you swap weapons, the weapon that you just stowed will automatically reload.
Oh, handy.
So you just run around with 2 LMG or 2 SMGs, swapping on the fly, never reloading. It's really fun. Like there's super viable melee builds. There's viable builds for all kinds of play styles. It really feels like.
Yeah, I've been rocking like the medic build because the doctor character they have 3 free heals per level. And it's gotten to a point where my homies will be like on the brink of death. We'll get to a quiet point, and I'll be, because of my build where my healing efficacy is like all the way up, like as maxed out as I can. I'll heal them almost for full health, and then they can wind up using their med packs on me because the doctor can't heal herself. And Ben was completely right about a full-on melee build, because I have one friend that's just leading the pack, just hacking away,
Beyblading it,
just Beyblading it. They're letting it rip, because they have a build where like they get a little bit of HP back every time they swing away and kill something, combined with like another friend who's more of another support character that anytime we kill a special infected, I forget what they call them in this game.
The special ridden,
sure. Then we all get a damage modifier for the rest of the level. So
yeah, right. Like there's totally support builds, right?
Yeah.
Like there's like tank builds and stuff like that, and it's really cool. It does allow for you to really play the way you want to play, the way you prefer to play, kind of these horde shooters.
But
obviously,
because that card system works so well, I would never want to play with random people.
Yes, so that is one of my larger complaints, is the way that matchmaking is set up is a little bit of a bummer, where so there's 4 acts and 3 difficulties, and each act has like several starting points, except for the last one, it's only 1. But like the first act, let's say, is broken up into like 3 little chunks. So you need to be present for the beginning of the first chunk and the end of the last chunk if you want to be able to start on the next chunk. So like I need to play through, if me and Jan are partied up and we start on act 1 level 1 and we play level 1 level 2, but then like something happens and Jan has to dip before he gets to level 3.
What happened?
We would have the bread was in the rain. You had to go get the bread out of the rain. You left the bread. You left for bread.
How'd you know Peter was my favorite character in Hunger Games? That's what he did.
Nice.
You left for bread.
The problem is, like, you now have to go back and do those first 3 chapters again. And when you're getting older like me, it's harder to, like, in college, I could easily find 3 friends and be like, let's just spend the weekend and blaze through this entire campaign. Like, we're gonna stay up all night, we're just gonna rock it. Like,
everyone's like, yep,
I can't
no
do
problem.
that shit anymore.
How long are they?
I'm almost 32. It's so hard to find a friend group that'll game on like my schedule right now. Like,
only gets worse. How long are these? Are they longer than like the missions in Left 4 Dead were?
Some of them are really short.
Yeah, they can be short, they can be long. I'd say on average it's close. So it's a real bummer when you like have a new friend folded in and you're like, hey, I heard you guys got Back for Blood, and then you're like, oh cool, let's just see level 1 act 1 again, level 1 act 2 again, level 1 act 3
you
again.
You can just say my name, Ben. You don't have to hint around it.
But the worst part about all of this is they could have easily subverted it if they let you take care of this stuff in single player. Like, I just want to see the Act 4. I really want to see the finale of this game. I haven't gotten to yet because my solutions are either wait till I have friends to play with, which is like, who knows when that can happen, or play with randos. Because in single player, you don't unlock supply points, you don't unlock any achievement progress, you don't get any level progression. The official Back 4 Blood account tweeted earlier this month that they were going to, they knew people were pissed about this and they were going to look into maybe folding it in a little bit. But if you have to matchmake with randos, you're going to have a bad time, because if one person leaves, you suddenly have a bot, and the bots in these games they will stand in front of you as you're shooting a minigun and just like yell at you like, hey, don't shoot me. Like that's the kind of level of bot you're working with in this game.
Like randoms. Cool.
Exactly.
Honestly, it's bad enough that I don't know if I prefer a bot or a rando.
Ben, do you know if like the bots, if they have their own loadout of cards, or like is it just like the default basic pack?
I wonder. I feel like it'll be a default because they do. So like the thing about the cards is you're folding them into your gameplay, so you're scaling. So at the end of an act, you're a lot stronger than you were at the start of an act. So you would assume that the bots do something similar. or at least you would hope that. I don't know, because sometimes you die, and if you have a bot, you're able to take over that bot, and so they'll have a different build, but you can't really check like what your active cards are or anything. And then the last gripe I have, I guess, is like the AI director. Like the game will, in classic Left 4 Dead fashion, when you get in trouble is like when you get a coordinated strike of like special infected that roll up. Like a smoker grabs whoever's in your rear, and a hunter like pins somebody else, and then a boomer runs in, and you're just like, oh shit, like,
oh god, a boomer runs in?
A boomer runs in.
A smoker grabs my rear?
A smoker grabs your rear.
Are we in Vegas?
Smoker,
nice, Jan. Very good.
But like you remember how they made such a big deal about like, we've designed this director that is going to like really strategically figure out in Left 4 Dead. We are going to strategically like it's basically like another player is there, kind of like a DM almost, setting these creatures out and these set pieces, because they know the levels inside and out, and they know like where to spawn these special infected that'll like strategically take you down. This game's solution to that is, we're just going to send like 10 tall boys at you. I hope you can kill them all from like the same door. And it's a little less, it's just a little more, a little less theatrical, if that makes sense. Like it's less of like, oh shit, we were taken down by a strategic placement of cool enemies doing dynamic things to us, and more of like, oh, well, we tried shooting them all in the head, but there were too many guys to shoot in the head, and so they broke down the door. And then the special infected, Jan, you could probably speak to this. Like, Jan, how many special infected do you think are in the game?
There's like 4 or 5, and then they just have modifiers, right? Where like the tall boys, who are like the giant tall boys with one big good hand. And it makes me think, like, what were these when like a group of 4 or 5 tall boys rolls up to me and my squad? What were they doing together?
Basketball team.
Basketball,
okay.
Yeah.
Ball is life.
Pickup game. Yeah, and they all get
Division
infected.
1.
And then nobody wants to call a foul, because you don't really call fouls in a pickup game, and but they're like biting each other.
But like are you like alluding to like enemy diversity? Because it's not just that, because you wind up going around this. I'm at the end of Act 2, and I've only gone through like very similar environments, if not the same environments as I have been going through. And sure, they're trying to justify in the story of like, we need to fortify the church. Get out of the library. But the enemies, it's like, okay, it's the same ones. That one has armor now, so I can't shoot in the head, or it's a glowy spot.
Right. So they like my biggest problem is they don't really teach you anything about the different variants, like you messaged. So there's like 3 main types. There's like the explodey guys that are like big, bulky guys
that throw
there's
up.
There's the tall boys that have the really like big arm, like you mentioned, and there's the kind of like little springy guys who jump around. But each of those varieties has 3 different varieties within them that all behave very differently. Like, just for example, the tall boy is like, the normal tall boy will run up and slam once. The super tall boy will run up and just like keep slamming until you kill him. And then the last one will like grab you in its big arm and like thrash you around. And it,
like the jump around guys, you got like what? Like an Everlast, you got like a Danny Boy, like a DJ Lethal.
Yeah, DJ Lethal's the final variation. I don't want to spoil anything in the campaign, but like, remember how Left 4 Dead 2 ended with a big concert?
Yeah. Ooh, very exciting.
Red cap.
We the best.
Red cap zombie.
It all just comes down to an issue with like messaging and onboarding. Like there's like no glance value, I guess you could say, for like knowing what type of special affected it is, how you have to deal with it. Like, I had to go on Reddit and find a guide and like read the guide, and it broke down like, here's the visual indicators, here's what they do. And I'm always a fan of like, if you can put the information players need in your game, right? Like have a glossary somewhere that I can read while I'm loading one time, and I'll just be like, oh, these are the different types of variations or whatever. And it's just a bummer. It's a weird game where it's just not. It feels like it's just like extremely polished in like some areas. Like, I think it's visually a really great game. Like, we talked about the fog effects adding a lot, and just like even the common zombie design I really like. And and the gunplay is really polished, and then there's some stuff that just feels completely unfinished. Fucking lots of modern video games are like that these days. I guess that's kind of the norm now, huh?
Yeah. If someone was just tuning into the Bombcast, they could have confused our feelings on Back for Blood with Guardians of the Galaxy, where it's like, looks good, looks great. But how do you feel, Danny O'Dwyer, about Age of Empires 4?
Yes, they did it. The fourth Age of Empire game. It only took 15 years. Ensemble Studio is dead.
Like they had to like go and remake all the other ones to try and get people to remember, like, hey, no, these were good.
Yeah. So that's the funny thing, right? Is that like divorced from the definitive edition versions of the game that have come out for the past few years, you can play Age of Empires 1, 2, and 3 on modern machines with modern matchmaking, mod support, and they're fantastic. They're brilliant. Age of Empires 2 was the game I played the most last year, definitive edition on Steam. It's terrific. So in a world where they don't exist, people are going mad for this game, I think. I think it's a very true to Age of Empires 2 game. It is 3D, but it didn't get bogged down in the sort of wild 3D-ness of Age of Empires 3, which was kind of like a passing of the baton strategy game, because then Creative Assembly were doing things bigger and fully 3D and real warfare, whereas Age of Empires has always been a game that's like half city builder, economy management game, and then half battle game, but like with a cap of like 200 people, right? It's never including your civilization. Exactly. Yeah. We're not going crazy over here. So 4 is very much in the, Age of Empires 2 ilk. It does a really good job of, it is you can swivel the camera around if you want, and it doesn't have like the same, isometric grid that you can see into as you're placing stuff, but it does a really good job of making it, you can see the lines, you can see where you're going to put stuff, and then it does nice dynamic flourishes, like it'll create paths between buildings by itself, or if you put a couple of houses together, there'll be like a well or a washing line there or something. It adds nice flourishes to it, but it is very much in the, this is Relic, by the way, making this. So, their first swing at this franchise. Company of Heroes and Dawn of War creators. So, but it does a really good job of capturing the spirit of 2. But if you've been playing a lot of DE, you're going to know what's in this game. It has a good tutorial section in Art of War. It has, solid campaign. It has all the matchmaking stuff that you'll kind of know from the other definitive editions. Definitely like pared down in terms of the amount of maps. They don't have the mod support in there yet, or the community maps yet. That's coming, which is a big part of why Age of Empires 2 definitive edition and 3 were very popular. 1 kind of got less of that. But I will say that the campaign, the way they dress that up is fantastic. They have these great like 4K HDR documentary vignettes. It's a lot of common ground. Like it starts with the Battle of Hastings. Tell me if you've heard this before. They have there's 4 campaigns. There's the 100 Years War. There's a Genghis Khan sort of thing, and then something in like 14th century Russia that I don't really know. But each of those is kind of doing the same thing of kind of teaching you how to play the game a bit, having very specific things you're meant to do, and sort of like training you for online or skirmish mode. So yeah, if you've played DE, it's not a million miles away from those in terms of how it plays, but the packaging is solid. They did a great job.
Cool.
Yeah, so I never really messed with Age of Empires. Like it just, those games originally came out at a time when I was, either playing other RTS games or done with RTS games. And so I just never really messed with that stuff. So the definitive editions came out. I think I fooled around with them a little bit. And I was like, these seem good, but like that Command & Conquer remaster is out also. What if I just played more of that? And I dipped into this and didn't play a ton of it, but like that tutorial right off the bat was just like, oh, this is great. I'm having a great time with this. Like this is like building this civilization out and just like getting the economy up and running. Like everything is just really well thought out and really smooth. Like it controls well, and it's nice to feel like, for as much as definitive edition, they did clean it up, and it is obviously like super popular. I don't know, this just feels like a modern video game too, right. And it's like there's something nice about like, wow, someone went out and made like a kind of big budget RTS game in 2021, and people just don't do that anymore. And I'm so happy that someone did that, and kind of would like to see a little bit more of it, from some of the other franchises out there. But yeah, I played through the tutorial and then just like got a little ways into it and was immediately like, when I have a little bit more nighttime opening freedom here, I'm probably gonna sink 100 hours into this thing.
Real-time strategy is tough for dad brain. That's like
it's
a bit much for.
It's really good to hear that they kept the Art of War stuff in, because that to me was like the thing about 2 and 3 DE that really made me stick around. Because like when I played AoE 2, I was a little kid and I really didn't know what I was doing. I was like, just get a bunch of elephants because that's cool. But like actually, and it is, and you can still do that, and that's great. But like it teaches you and then like grades you, right? There's the whole like medal system, right? Like where you're trying to do this under 12 minutes, then 8 minutes, then 6 minutes, right? And it like shows you just how absolutely wild you can go in this game. Like if you know what you're doing and you like understand builds and stuff and like how to effectively scout while you're also building, like it's really great hearing that. And then another thing I maybe you can speak to is they made a big deal about how the AI in those games used to just straight up cheat, and they had to rebalance the AI to actually make it play fair. And they like what they did was they actually like took footage from pro players who would play AoE 2 and then like kind of model the AI after them. Do you have any experience with like, I don't know, just like the campaign AI stuff?
So I have been feeling it's tougher than what I'm sort of like used to, my baseline, even in skirmish mode. And some of that might be getting to grips with some of the changes, because Relic have added some, they've tightened up some of the tech tree stuff. Now when you're going between ages, you sort of pick one unique building that adds a specific buff to your civ. So for me, I feel like I'm off pace on my general skill in Age of Empires. You can see it in the quick look. So it's hard for me to see quite yet. So I've definitely found it more challenging. Like I've had to be smart about flanking and I'm doing a lot more like micro. I feel like I'm having to do more, like I've got my StarCraft brain on a bit more when I'm playing this than I generally would have with Age of Empires. One thing I do want to mention that they've changed is, so there's only 8 civs in this, which I guess with the like art cost of making a modern game you can kind of understand. And like normal Age of Empires, they have special units and different tech trees and all that sort of stuff, but the Mongols are completely different. So they've added in the Mongols, and they are a nomadic race. You can pick up and move practically every building, the town center, your stables, your things for storing food. The way they collect food's different because they don't farm. So they have these like buildings that basically generate sheep that then you kill like every 90 seconds. Like a sheep appears and then you slaughter it.
Cool.
So they're crazy. So I've been playing those on big maps where you're moving around and you're able to like dominate the landscape a bit more with them. So that's been a fun, as much as this game, I think if you're coming in with fresh eyes, or like Jeff, somebody who maybe didn't play Age of Empires much in the past or hasn't played in the 20 something, whatever it is, near 20 years since AoE 2 came out, I think there's enough here for you to learn and enjoy. If you've been playing DE a lot, I think the Mongols is the place where this thing gets really interesting, because it's a total like sort of brain flip from how you generally, right, sort of late game. And there's an Art of War for this in Age of Empires 4 where it's siege tactics, right? It's building a castle or an encampment for your city and being able to like, restrain the other army's ability to gather resources and winning the economy fight, or brute force with strategy. But the Mongols are a whole different ballpark because they're able to just kind of disappear. Like the city might not be there anymore if you haven't been scouting it. So that's a cool addition to the game that definitely is like totally different to other Age of Empires games.
Sick. Y'all seem very high on this. Never checked out Age of Empires. Always been really scared of RTSs.
They're a weird like subset, right? Because they're not fully combat, and they're not like city skylines either. They sort of, I don't really know what game. I guess Age of Mythology did a bit of that, and like Rise of Nations, but like mostly RTS has gone in the combat
Majesty
way.
Shout out to Majesty.
Right. Yeah, I didn't play much.
And I think that's what kind of kept me away from this when they were coming out originally, was that element of just like, you know, I'm not really a big Civ guy. Like, I just want to build units and walk them into the other base and let's go, and let's fight. So I think originally that was what kind of put me off of the whole franchise. But it's nice.
It's always been my favorite because I don't have the brain for Civ, but I also found like StarCraft very stressful. Just the moment to moment, like build orders, the time windows, all that sort of stuff. Whereas I'm when I'm playing StarCraft, I'm like, you know, me and some friends are fighting some AIs on the second
making as many battle
difficulty.
cruisers
exactly.
as you can.
I'm over here still making 100 elephants and walking them into the fucking other base, basically. Like,
Hell yeah!
But you can do that in this too. You know, that's what me and my wife did for most of like our quarantine Age of Empires plays. We would play LAN games against the AI and say, all right, this time we're just gonna make a shit load of those ships that fire cannonballs and make a lake map and just fuck them up. And you can still do that in this as well, so that's pretty cool.
Nice.
Sick. Good to hear. I might go generate some sheep during this break. Unless anyone has any couple more games. Ben, is this the week you want to get into it?
Ben, is there something you'd like to say?
Get off your chest.
Okay.
Or...
Yeah, I thought about this. I need to get on the record here.
Oh boy.
Long time Giant Bomb fans, and by long time I mean at least like 4 year long Giant Bomb fans.
The
will
Forzies,
know,
as we call them internally.
Right. I'm a big Nintendo guy. Always have been. Always classically have made my favorite video games of all time. Huge Zelda fan. Probably my favorite video game franchise of all time. And I had been previously on record as a Breath of the Wild hater. There were lots of reasons. People always like to boil it just down to like I didn't like the stamina system. But I needed to come forward and I needed to just get this off my chest.
You still hate it.
I still hate it. Fuck all of you.
It's more.
It's amazing on the Wii U.
Turns out a bunch of people yelling that you're wrong about the opinion of a video game will change your mind because I played it. After a little while after leaving Giant Bomb. I just needed a nice, chill out, quiet, zen game. And I was like, I'll give Breath of the Wild another shot. It's good. You guys were right. It's a good game. It's a little dated now because so many games have like ripped its style and made little iterations here and there. Like, I feel like Ghost of Tsushima is like a nice take on a modernized version of that Breath of the Wild style where you're kind of riding around and you see a mountain and you're like, I bet there's something on that mountain, and you make your way up the mountain and sure enough there's something there.
Like a Genshin Impact.
A fox.
Yeah.
I haven't played enough Genshin, but I'll take your word for it.
It's good.
But
it's surprisingly good.
I just wanted to get on the record and say y'all were right about Breath of the Wild. I still have problems with it. I still think it is not what I am looking for out of a Zelda game. If I view it through the lens of like a video game, I had a good time with it.
He's backtracking.
I was just gonna say,
I'm standing by my one main problem with it. Well, I'm standing by one of my main problems with it, which is it doesn't have a great like dungeon experience. To me, 3D Zeldas are about like you roll up in a cool dungeon, you find an item, you play around it with it in that dungeon, you solve some puzzles, you fight a cool boss, and then you're out. This obviously has like the trials and the shrines and then the big divine beast dungeons, which I thought were
Totally.
But,
like I think that it's a really cool game. I don't think it's a great Zelda game. I think that's where I ended up landing on it, was that feeling of like this is on its own really cool, very different than what I'm looking for out of a Zelda game. Like that's
yeah. It really the style, the feel, the world, everything grows on you. Like the music, even like stuff I didn't take in fully when I first played it because I had only gotten through it like 2 divine beasts before I quit the first time. And then just like learning the layout of the world, learning how to more optimize stuff, and then like getting really into like I'm never gonna do it, but then I went on like the Breath of the Wild subreddit, and there's tons of really incredible video clips of like, here's how I dealt with this guardian, and they use like 6 of the different stasis things and the ice and all this shit, and like I have a new appreciation for that. Yeah, it's scary. It's really cool how into it people got, and I am quite excited, I have to say, for the second game.
Ben, I have your top 10 list of 2017 when Breath of the Wild came out.
Wow.
Do you think it would have cracked your top 10? Do you remember
what's
on your...
What's like 10 through 7?
10 through 7, 10, Destiny 2, Night in the Woods, Battle Chef Brigade, Persona 5.
Oh man, I might have to make some severe edits to that list, but it would at least knock off Destiny 2.
Okay, all right,
interesting.
Well,
I think I pressured myself into putting Persona 5 on that list. By the way, I do not stand by that.
So
that game was okay.
All right.
Sometimes you gotta leave a job to figure out a game is good. That's just how it works sometimes, you know.
Yep.
That's...
Oh yeah. All right. See you guys.
Danny wound up liking Kingdom Hearts. It's
gonna go play Lemmings.
Lock yourself in a room with nothing else going on. Suddenly, Guardians of the Galaxy is looking pretty good. It's like, it's either this or stare at this wall. Man.
Ben, I'm glad you could get that off your chest, because that has been on the Bombcast Google Doc since you started popping back up on the podcast.
Oh yeah, I knew like when we had a slow week, I could kill 10 minutes just giving Breath of the Wild its ups.
Well, all right.
It's about time someone said something nice about that game, and that's very brave of you to step forward.
Thank you. I will. If you want to DM me, say how much you appreciate my honesty. My DMs are
what
open.
A fucking contrarian.
Well, I guess I'm gonna
keep forgetting they're making another one of those. You just reminded me.
Are they?
Yeah.
Are they?
All right.
And it's like got more air
say they
shit
are.
in it. You can like fly around and shit.
That's sick, because Skyward Sword was so good.
I will never say Skyward Sword is a good game. That is a promise.
All right.
That port came out this year, right? I'm not imagining that.
The remake,
the remake did come out this year. Oh, wild. All right. Well, all right. Final call. Any other games, y'all?
Negative.
All right. Well, I'm going to go
I
reevaluate.
played 45 minutes of Super Metroid. Instead of finishing Metroid Dread.
Well, how's Super Metroid?
The controls are fucked. Where they put the jump and shoot buttons by default. You can remap everything, unlike some other Nintendo games we'll get into in the news segment.
Well, that's a good tease. We'll get to the news right after this break. Welcome back, everybody, to the Giant Bombcast. We just came
Jan,
up
you
from
said, did you say two, like the owl and the Tootsie Pop? Was that on purpose? The
Two.
Three.
The Giant Bombcast. A lot of owl talk on the website. And by a lot of owl talk, Rory brought up Legends of Ga'Hoole yesterday.
Oh, God.
The
at least it wasn't
Zack
his
Snyder
vagina.
joint.
Jan, I got a segue. Can I do it?
Yeah.
And speaking of owls, they call the Overwatch League owl. So speaking of owls, and now Jan hit the news music.
Breaking.
We got some breaking news. From the relatively quiet, I think it's pronounced Activision Blizzard company that I haven't been hearing too much about lately. They
the
just
Pitfall
dropped
people.
This. Yeah, right. The
They're
Pitfall
back.
Company.
Tony Hawk,
Nice.
right?
Yeah.
Well, Danny, they're not back. In fact, they're gone. As in, they're not doing a BlizzCon in
Bobby
2022.
Kotick has been slayed.
Yeah, they just dropped this minutes ago. But there will be no BlizzCon in February of 2022. Jeff, as you mentioned, it was already going to be an online thing, obviously, but they're not even doing that. They put out a blog post where they said, quote, "At this time, we feel the energy it would take to put on a show like this is best directed towards supporting our teams and progressing development of our games and experiences."
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do we think this is lawsuit, we don't have any video games, or a combination of the two?
Combination.
And COVID. Sprinkle COVID in there too.
Sure.
Yeah. It's got to be
nice.
a little bit of everything, right? I mean, the ongoing lawsuit situation that's facing Blizzard and kind of them going through all the stuff that they've been going through. Those poor guys. Well, it's like I feel like the reports have been that like work on games has slowed to a crawl in some cases as these problems have gotten more and more spotlight because people are like, wait, I should not work here. There's been like, people departing the company, that sort of thing. But so you've got that element of it. I think from a PR perspective, like this stuff's not going away. This is an ongoing issue with them and how they've been treating their people and how they've been, whether they've been paying people equitably and that sort of thing. So I think the idea of getting out there early next year with a big event about Blizzard, yay! I don't think that would go over particularly well. But like the thing they've, they're here. Like one more thing we wanted to make clear, even though we aren't holding a BlizzCon line, which I feel like when you it really just emphasizes the con part of that in a way that probably doesn't work out well. In February, we'll still be making announcements and updates for our games. So it's like, they'll still have their announcements. Maybe it's not big enough to support a full event. I don't think Blizzard's lineup I feel like Blizzard's lineup has rarely been in a position where it can support a full event. Like BlizzCon always seemed like a really weird thing to me until you factor in people's ongoing fandom and the cosplay and the camaraderie there. And that specific aspect has been breached by what were at the time high-level Blizzard employees. I think the whole BlizzCon name is really sullied now.
Yeah.
And they do kind of allude in that statement that they are going to take some time to reevaluate what a BlizzCon might look like in the future. So this reads to me less of a BlizzCon 2022 is canceled and more of a BlizzCon is done and it might be back someday in some form, but like don't hold your breath.
Yeah, and like how many people, high-level Overwatch people, have left the studio over the last, like, what, was it like 6 months or something like that? So, like, what progress is there to report on Overwatch 2? Like, maybe that's not where they want it to be. It feels like the Diablo 2 remaster came out and was immediately forgotten, except by people who were like, boy, these servers sure don't work for shit. And so that didn't go over great. So yeah, I don't know. Obviously, like the whole company is in the middle of a lot of very important stuff, and hopefully they figure that out and take care of their people, right? Like they're in the middle of trying to fight lawsuits and they're trying to get lawsuits thrown out or all that other stuff. So it doesn't seem like they're really focused on taking care of their people the way that you would hope. But yeah.
Yeah. The other interesting line is the whole, we would like to also take the time to reimagine what a BlizzCon event of the future could look like. What do you make of that, Ben?
I mean, I think it means that there is not going to be an in-person BlizzCon anytime soon. I think that means like, and I think Jeff really nailed it. Like the only people I knew who like gave a shit about BlizzCon were like WoW fanatics who would go and like meet up with their guildmates, right? And like go for the new announcements and cosplay and stuff. And that was cool that was there for them. And it seemed like it had that PAX vibe of like, it's just as much the fans and stuff as it is the company. And like we're
the same way Dota fans want to go to the international.
Exactly.
Like just to meet up in person and hang out and party and whatever. And
now nobody wants to go party.
No one wants to go party with fucking Blizzard.
Yeah. There was a time where they had multiple. Remember, what was the one? I went to one in France. There was a worldwide invitational, right? They also had that alongside BlizzCon. So they were doing multiple. They had loads. They had a bunch of them in South Korea when StarCraft was at its peak as well. I was at the announcement for StarCraft 2, I think. Or no, Diablo was announced at the one in Paris. And yeah, like I loved going to BlizzCon. It was exactly that. It was just like a place to, buy some expensive mouse pads and hang out with people who played this game that you loved. But like, It kind of almost it became too much of a announcements thing. Like when you look at this and you look at what QuakeCon is, like for all the shit that people give Bethesda, QuakeCon is still like, I mean, they've had to do it online now, but like when they showed off Doom 2016 there, they didn't show it outside closed doors for like a year. Like they only did it for those people. It's still in the same hotel in Dallas, I think. Like it still has that sort of intimate fan feel. I mean, they kept calling it QuakeCon back when, you know, there hasn't been a Quake.
I mean, that's the part that rubs me the wrong way, is like now it's Microsoft's QuakeCon, and like
right now it's
like next year it's going to be like Excel's looking great.
Ooh. Yeah, because they have invited in, the I know Arcane have shown stuff off at, you know, QuakeCon.
Yeah, like the full Bethesda lineup is often represented in some form.
Microsoft Flight Simulator or something next.
Yeah, right. But like it's called QuakeCon. Like show the id stuff. Like just But whatever. I think if they did focus it on just what id was working on, maybe it wouldn't make sense. Or it would only make sense as a fan event, as a bring your own computer, let's hang out and play Quake 3.
Yeah, which it kind of, so I think it still kind of has that feeling, because it doesn't have this expectation with it, whereas BlizzCon turned into a big thing that suddenly had a lot of
live, they're like, hey, get it on DirecTV and buy your pass so you can still get your WoW pets and like all this other stuff that you'll want to sell. Yeah, every
game. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. and we're gonna have it like all this stuff, and the hall is gonna be even bigger, and we'll have all the stuff we had, the statues that you see every year, but all this extra stuff. Like it almost became sort of so big. And then if you're having trouble outside of the crazy, workers' rights and legal shit that are having it, but if they're also like each game isn't really hitting super hard right now, then like it doesn't work, right? It ends up being a bummer, because you're gonna go and go, fuck, I hope the next WoW expansion's fun, or I hope this, or
or it's like, oh well, the more mobile Diablo looks cooler than anyone thought it would, so there's that. Like if that's the most positive news they've got in early February, then they probably need to not have any kind of online event or anything, and just say like, hey, we're gonna, and I feel relatively strongly about this, especially going forward, as everyone rethinks what events are worth bringing people together for. Announce stuff when it's ready. Yeah, the idea of just like, well, you got to have a beat ready. We need to have a PR hit ready for a stage show in early February. All right, teams, go make your game, but also you've got this looming deadline. Like that sucks. That's not good for those teams, especially when those teams are under a lot of other pressure for everything else that's happening at that company right now. I don't know. Like,
can I ask a question of the four of you?
I'd love to answer
anytime.
2022 in-person E3, yay or nay?
Depends on where the numbers go for caseloads and like all that sort of stuff. Like I am open to the idea, but it depends on a lot of stuff.
What if it sort of hovers in the hell zone we're kind of in now, where it's like it's not as bad as it was, but it doesn't seem to be disappearing.
Yeah, I mean, there is no current thing, right? It changes every day, right? Like,
I guess.
I think if the trajectory is still on what it is today, I think yes. Especially, for me personally, it's like, can my kid get a shot? Once my kid gets a shot, we're rocking and rolling.
That's where I'm at too. Is like, I've got 2 kids too young. Like even when they approve the 5-year-olds, like those kids are still too young for that. So, what do we do? Like I got a window that leaks. I found out as it was raining yesterday. And it's like, I got to have someone come replace this window at some point here, and having to think through that stuff of like, okay, we got to get these kids upstairs and do this and keep this away from this. And no one shows up wearing a mask anymore. And what the fuck are we doing? And, I don't know. Like E3 is already in such a weird spot, right? Like on one hand, I think there are people that are now jonesing for, like, it's probably one of the best things that could happen for the ESA is like things to get better to the point where people get like weird excited about an E3 and forget the part where that thing was a gong show for a while now.
They're overreaching for it.
Let's just set up a couch in a hotel room like a month earlier. And just be like, what's up, games people?
Can it not be in a hotel room?
Montreal.
Can it be on a roof bar?
Yeah, could we? Yeah, maybe outdoor.
Okay.
Maybe outdoor area.
That'd be great. As long as the sun's down, that'd be fucking great. Let me tell you.
Buy a pool. I'll give you all that.
But the roof of that place was always like, where GameSpot would try to have its like, hey, advertisers come drink for free party.
Yeah, that was always a really good waste of their money.
Yeah, so why don't we waste it on us instead?
Yeah.
And take over that rooftop with that pool. That'd be real dumb.
Let's do it.
That was a fun bar.
That would be fun. That'd be all right.
That'd be all right.
I think right now my gut tells me like 60%. Yes.
I'll go 70.
Ooh, can I get an 80?
No,
I don't actually
Go once.
work.
Ben's just
Ben,
like
you're
shaking
coming to
his
E3
head.
next year,
Ben,
right?
you are allowed to have an opinion on the matter, though.
To me, the thing that I always look forward to most about E3 is just seeing tons of industry people, meeting new people, and you can't really do that in an online setting. So the faster that the industry can get back into a place, and I think it's just good for the industry, right? It's good as a whole to get everyone talking to each other and kind of feeling out this stuff and like.
Yeah, DICE just announced today that DICE was going to be in person next year.
Okay.
Oh.
And that's like February. So
Smaller
Las
amount of
Vegas.
people, which is
Yeah.
helpful probably. And also
But Las
Vegas,
Vegas.
so fucking
But
YOLO.
Las Vegas, so it's like
Yeah.
You won't have to
want
choose
that-
between DICE and BlizzCon anymore.
yes.
By now we'd
Thank
be
God.
up to our. By now
Shooting
we'd
from
be
the
up
hip
to
there,
our. We'd be up to our neck in CES planning,
Right.
Oh yuck.
and big
That's
yuck.
gross.
It was. Let me tell you, it was gross forever. The pandemic, it didn't change it. It's always been gross.
Was there any
Everyone always
fallout
came home
after
from CES incredibly ill anyway.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't understand. Like,
and E3 and PAX, right? Just
yeah, from my CNET friends who are still there, sounds like the planning is not really in the engaged sort of way that it used to be. I don't even think, but there is I believe there is an in-person component to it. So. I don't know.
Got to see these fridges in person. You can't. What you can do? Look at a spec sheet and go like, "How many cubic feet is this? Oh, that's nice." Like that's not
You
gonna.
need to
happen.
really rub up against it.
Touch a screen.
True.
Yeah.
put your head in.
That's what
Need to
you
put your head in
learn
the
day
oven,
one.
You know?
Okay, honest question.
Yeah.
When they're showing off fridges at CES, are they filled with shit? Not like shit, but like stuff. Like, yo, look at this
if
rack
I-
of ribs we got in here. It's so cold.
What if I told you I've never seen a fridge at CES?
That's why I got fired from CNET. That's why they
What
let
if
him
I-
go.
Yeah.
This is
Hey,
You're
that's
supposed to.
true.
You're on fridge duty. You're like, no fridges. So like,
They're like, apparently everyone associates you with fridges, yet you yourself have never conducted a single fridge review. What are you? Useless. That's what you
Doesn't
are.
CNET have that like fake house in like North?
It's a real house, Danny. Danny,
like
it's a real house.
Just
It's
'cause
a
people don't
real
live in
ass
it.
House.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it
I
zoned
think
for
it's-
residential, Jeff?
That's not my fucking problem. I think it's in Kentucky.
yeah,
I
that sounds
forget.
right.
I think Peter Brown's brother was running
Yes,
that or
Rich.
something. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's his house.
Rich Brown is a powerful name.
That's a good name.
Yeah.
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 It's like
No, they do.
Rich,
I think
Peter Encyclopedia.
right. Jan,
Way at the
man.
bottom, Dan.
Oh, Jan, you're really firing from the hip here.
Thank you for catching that. Speak about names.
Wait, what?
Oh, we're
of
no more
firing from
fridges.
the
Yeah.
hip.
No, that was old. So speaking about names,
And
They changed
owls.
McCree's name. They changed McCree's name to Cole Cassidy today. How do you all feel about that?
That
I bet
sucks.
there's probably
No
some
one is named Cole.
Cole Cassidy. It's a fake name.
there's a Sprouse twin that's named Cole, I think.
It's
Oh
bullshit.
yeah, is he the one who's into Smash, or is he the,
I
other,
think
the
he's the
normal one?
No, he's the one that's into wine.
Okay, he's the normal one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So amid the accusations levied against Blizzard. A lot of people were named, and a lot of those people had references in other games, World of Warcraft, etc. And then in Overwatch,
was Hogger named?
Hogger, you don't.
Yeah, Hogger got fired in the first wave, man.
Fucking unsurprising.
Hogger and Leroy
Jim
Jenkins
Hogger
got up to some shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, McCree, one of the people named formerly a producer. They have renamed his character though in Overwatch to Cole Cassidy. They're adding in, new voice lines where characters will say Cole instead of McCree or whatever, and they're doing I believe a cinematic, like they've done with other character introductions to try and they're like, it's weird because they're not just like changing it and ignoring it. They're like folding it into the story and making it like an actual meaningful change, which I think is okay. Like I think if you can dedicate the time and resources to it, why not? And I've actually always enjoyed those Overwatch cinematics quite a bit, even if I haven't been keeping current on the game.
Yeah, I think
the name sucks.
To change it and just like pretend it was that all along, like, you probably could just get away with doing that, but if you can go an extra mile and have it be like, oh, we're recognizing that for years this character had a different name, and moving forward that way, like, go for it.
Okay.
Nah, isn't this just the grossest, weirdest thing? It's just like, who fucking cares? Like it's like, yes, they should rename this person.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess like trying to make a PR hit out of, hey, here's the new name for a character that we had to change because it was named after a guy that maybe was a molester, a raper, whatever the hell was going on, holding people down. I don't even remember which allegations stuck to this person. I don't know. There's so many of them who can keep track.
For what it's worth,
I guess you're right. That is kind of gross.
Well, for what it's worth, everything that came out about the Blizzard stuff, there was always kind of a line in there about like the Overwatch team. Surprising, like obviously they had to make this change, but like there were a lot of people involved in the Overwatch team saying like it compared to a lot of the other places in Blizzard at the time was a much more inclusive and relaxed and positive atmosphere. So it seems like there could be really a team there that kind of were handed this, and it's like, well, what do you do? Like, yes, it is kind of cold and calculated in a PR move, and you can tell definitely like there was definitely a marketing team involved behind this, but you can also see that maybe some of it comes from a place of like true, like, we want to make a big deal out of this because we want like people to remember, like, we are changing this guy's name because this guy was a creep, and we are making a big deal of it so people don't forget, right? Like, I could see both kind of factoring into something.
Yeah, I don't blame like the intent behind what they're doing. It just sucks. Like, this whole thing is just the worst. You know what I mean?
Like somebody had to sit there and schedule social media posts about it, and right, like there's that kind of just like, yeah, totally, I get it.
Sounds more like a Cole and calculated move. Ben, what else you got?
Rich form.
Yeah, you're really
Rich
skating
Brown.
on thin ice.
God, I gotta go.
Concerned Ape. He of the guy that entirely made Stardew Valley with his own two hands fame, which I didn't know. I was never much of a Stardew guy, but Concerned Ape, creator of Stardew Valley, has announced his next game, the Haunted Chocolatier.
The Haunted Chocolatier.
Would it surprise you guys to say that it kind of looks like Stardew Valley?
It's not in 3D.
Right.
It's not.
What about
Ghost Chocolate?
3D action platformer.
So lazy.
It looks similar to Stardew. It's about owning a haunted chocolate factory. But the blog post, I was just like reading a news story, and then I decided to go actually read the announcement post. This Concerned Ape is out on an ethereal plane. I just want to read this quote. Chocolate represents that which is delightful. The haunted castle represents the allure of the unknown. The ghosts represent the imprint of the past. If Stardew Valley mostly channeled the energy of the sun, Haunted Chocolatier channels the energy of the moon. Both are vital.
Wow.
Okay.
That's quite a game announcement.
I got really confused when this got announced because I thought he was making that witch game, but apparently that's the publisher of Stardew Valley.
Oh, yeah.
Witch Brook? Chucklefish, is that it?
Chucklefish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was because that looks like Stardew as well, but it's not him. That's just the publisher, I guess.
Is this the way that like post Terraria there were games that were sequels to Terraria, but also games that looked a whole lot like Terraria that weren't Terraria and all that kind of stuff?
I was reading because I didn't know much about Stardew, but he the concerned ape, Eric Barone, I think is his name, made that entire game, the music, the art, everything by himself, and then brought in Chucklefish to help with ports. And like translation patches and stuff like that. So maybe that is when that's when Chucklefish was like, "Hey, look at this. We can kind of make our own thing out of this."
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of known for this now. Maybe we could, do another thing. Yeah, sure.
Is it going to be a self-pub joint, or is he still with the Chucklefishes?
I do not have that in front of me. I do know that he said that it was very unfinished. This was a vertical. There's a trailer you can watch. He said it was very much a vertical slice. Like he's got a lot of work left to do. So don't hold your breath. But I don't know. I think the premise of like a Willy Wonka-esque video game could be cool. I think that's a good.
I mean, there are not very many video games out there about haunted chocolate factories, so
not anymore.
It's kind of a big question mark. I mean, will it be good? Will it be terrible? I don't know.
Giant Bomb for a haunted chocolate factory could definitely use some fleshing out.
Yeah.
For all we know, it's going to look like a PS1 game then if it's a haunted chocolate factory.
Yeah, the minute you say haunted, someone's making some kind of demake of something, some kind of PS1 something.
What else have we got here? Destiny 2! They announced their newest expansion.
Ben Pack's 11th favorite game from 2017.
Yeah.
Or it could be his 10th still if he took Persona 5 out.
Shuffle things around. Battleship Brigade definitely sticks, though. The Witch Queen is the new Destiny expansion. And people are a little mixed on this announcement. So
they announced it a while ago, and I feel like they maybe waited a little bit to kind of let the other shoe drop here, in terms of like dungeons are only going to come with the game if you get the digital deluxe version, and we are looking at alternate ways for you to buy that content in the future. But for now, you need to get the deluxe version of the game to get that stuff. And
so. Yeah, that's the big thing people are upset about. Now you can't. So dungeons, which are the equivalent of raids in Destiny, will no longer be bundled in unless you buy the digital deluxe edition, which I believe is $20 more. You can get the standard edition and upgrade later. They've come out and said that, at least. But yeah, in terms of new stuff, they're offering that. They're doing a legendary difficulty for the campaign for the first time. They're adding legacy rotations of old dungeons. So they're not just taking away features, but yeah, this definitely has people a little miffed. I guess the Destiny team put out a blog post earlier saying that like the percentage of people that actually do the dungeons is really, really low. And that, like, this was a move of, like, well,
if we're going to make these all, yeah. I mean, I think it makes sense as that game ages and as they learn more about their player base to kind of shuffle up the type of content they're making. At the same time, they have long-term fans that want specific things out of that game. And so I see why you would eventually have two lines cross on a chart where you're like, well, if we want to make this type of content that this percentage of players wants, it doesn't make its money back. We need to charge more. We need to charge more for that specific piece of content. I get how you would get there, but like, it's one of those situations where like they've been at this for a lot of years doing it a specific way since they went free to play. And now they're in this weird bind of like, people are used to it a certain way and they expect it will always be that way. But they need to change it up. I think that, I think Destiny needs to change a lot up, honestly. Like the core gameplay and all that stuff is still awesome, but I feel like I dip into it every time they release a bunch of new content and never quite finish that content. Or half the time I load it up when there's new content out and play content from 2 expansions ago that I never quite finished.
Yeah, same.
And it just doesn't matter. It's just like, okay, well, this is all new to me. But then sometimes you get back to it and you're like, oh, the new content I was playing, now they've found it because the stasis power was locked behind that. They've altered that because they just want people to have that now and not have to dick around with all this other campaign. Like, so, and they're going to vault away certain content. So like methods may have changed as someone who is not playing that game every day or every week. It's really difficult to come back to, even though they have redesigned a lot of the quest stuff to be like, here's the things you should do. Like, there's still an aspect of it that's just like, yeah, but really, is that the stuff I should do, or should I do the new stuff or the old stuff I was working on? Like, it's still kind of unclear. But you know, how many players are like that continually lapsed player like me that only checks in with it once a month or less?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you know, Destiny 2 is such a conceptually weird concept of like everything that game has been through in its path to as a paid game under Activision to now out on their own to now free to play to now, you know, more and more cross play stuff and vaulting content to release new content and all the seasons they've done and all that sort of stuff. Like I bet that they could do with the ability to kind of wipe the slate again and not necessarily do a Destiny 3 per se, but just actually, yeah, I mean, probably like have a game that is called something different and be like, all right, this is the new thing. We've updated some tech along the way and we're doing some stuff here. And here is the pathway forward. Maybe it's time. It's been a long time.
Keep that free to play and then do another, you know, life cycle for one of these games. A paid product. You know.
I don't know. I bet if they were going to put something new out, they would just make it free to play out of the gate.
Oh.
I don't think you do a Destiny. I mean, I think you have a paid tier of it, right? There's a like, hey, if you want anything outside of the base storyline of this campaign and then the base level multiplayer, then you're definitely going to want to buy the thing. I think there's plenty of ways to make that a compelling like upgrade path and still have a free version of the game, but yeah, I don't know what I would do in that situation. Like, they feel like in some cases they are now bound to what that game has been for this number of years. Cause you see, like, they're trying to make these changes around the edges, which they don't seem like great trying to charge for that stuff, but you know, they're trying to figure out like, what can we change? What can we do differently? How can we keep making this content and keep making it viable for the players that want it, even though such a small percentage of people play it? And they've managed to piss everyone off all over again. So I don't know what the right move is there.
Yeah. Destiny 2 is one of those games where, similar to Final Fantasy 14, that anytime I look about or think about getting into it, I have no idea how to get into it. Because the way I see people post about Destiny 2, they treat it like it's an MMO. And as far as I know, it's not, right?
No, I mean, it's at most a 6-player game for raids, and what is it, like 4-on-4 in competitive. So like at most it's 8 players in a space. When you're actually on a mission, like, you know, in the open world, you can encounter players here and there, but no, it's not an MMO. It's a Guild Wars. It's a you know, shared space, but also instanced game. Yeah. But yeah, I think people have expectations of it as a live service game and all that sort of stuff that, you know, and as a free to play game, that it's going to be really hard to meet those expectations for longtime players while also trying to bring in new players and trying to, you know, all that sort of stuff. Serving all those different masters can't be easy, but I don't know. Like, I feel like every time they put out more Destiny stuff, I'm like a little bit less into it. It's that feeling of like, man, this still feels great. And I think it looks awesome, but I've completely lost the plot on the story stuff. And I've like the last couple of times I've gotten back into it, I'm skipping cutscenes. I'm just like, whatever, let me shoot. And that's probably not a great place for them to be, considering how much time they spend on lore, and all that other stuff. So I don't know.
Well, let's shift gears a bit. Ben, this next news story, I feel like, is another news story that appeals specifically to you and me.
Yeah. Was it you who dropped this in here?
I put it in there.
Jeff dropped this in here. Apparently, Nick, not the only company getting their own platform fighter. If you watched Space Jam 2, you know how much Warner loves their catalog.
They're the multiverse.
Yeah, why not throw all those cats in a platform fighter?
Yeah, let's do it.
According to the Multiversus claim, the list of characters includes Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, Gandalf from Lord of the Rings, Tom and Jerry, Batman, Fred Flintstone, Mad Max, and Johnny Bravo.
This is some Harvey Birdman shit right here.
Seriously.
feel like-
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Who
I mean,
else do we need in there?
actually, now if I could have a Harvey Birdman platform fighter,
Yeah.
I'd be all in.
Yeah, so this is a lot of this got out on Reddit. Some folks, including Jeff Grubb, have heard a little bit more about this game as well. The leak claimed that it was being developed by NetherRealm, which Jeff Grubb says is not the case. My understanding also is that is not the case. But this just seems like I don't know. This seems like one of the most cynical things, like somehow beating Space Jam 2 in some sick way for just like we own a lot of IP and we should exploit it. Like this doesn't feel.
I don't
It's
know
not a feel good story in the same way the Nickelodeon one felt like. Like this to me seems like a company that is trying as many different ways to make something like this, whether it was Space Jam 2 or whatever else. Now going like, this is going to be the next thing we're going to try and do, and fuck it, let's put Neo in it, or let's put LeBron James in it.
Put
like
Neo in it.
Yeah, I mean
LeBron.
they should. They own all that shit. Like put all that shit in there.
Put Master
and,
Shake
of
in
course.
it.
Ooh, sure.
Well, is Warner Adult Swim? No, right? I mean that's not.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Steve Brule.
Oh my God, Rick and Morty.
Carl in there, yo.
Rick
Steve
and Morty
Brule
are gonna
versus
be in this
Neo.
game.
Yeah.
I feel like
Powers.
they didn't learn
Austin
their
Powers.
lesson from Space Jam 2, where they were saying that the multiverse is bad, but they also kept promoting everything else. So
The point of Space Jam 2 is that Algae
beat
Rhythm
your
wins.
children's dreams out of them.
The point is
Right.
Algae Rhythm
Right.
wins. The algorithm is always going to win. Space Jam 2 made them more money than anything else. Like that's what we're at least during
But they
COVID
can't make
times.
this game. This game can't be made with a straight face. They have to be in on the fucking joke when they're making this. If you have Gandalf fighting fucking Batman, there's no like.
Yeah.
There's
What's
no
funny
like
about that?
serious
funny about
way of fucking like they're
Why is that
making
funny?
Mugen. Like it's
Well, like
so,
that's. I mean, Smash Brothers has fucking Sonic the Hedgehog versus Solid Snake. Like we've crossed that. Like we're already done
They're
with
not
like trying to make it make sense.
it's so much more ridiculous though to have like Austin Powers fighting fucking Neo. Like that's not. That's on a
But they're not. I
different
mean,
plane of
to be fair,
stupid.
neither of those characters are on the list, but they should be.
They should be.
But Mad Max fighting Fred Flintstone, I think, is the
There you go.
Oh, all right.
like
Okay, yeah.
that's nonsense. That's nonsense.
Do you think they could
Yeah, but
throw
I
in
mean,
the Annabelle doll and Timothy Chalamet from Dune?
King
We're
Kong.
going all out.
Harry Potter. They have Harry Potter. You could do Harry Potter versus Gandalf. Let's fucking
yeah,
finish
everyone
it.
loves Harry Potter. Let's get that into more games, right? I mean, yeah, like people are really psyched about that upcoming Harry Potter game.
I was.
That
Lost
IP's got
Boys.
no stink on it. But like the Shaggy stuff, like all this fucking Ultra Instinct Shaggy stuff is partially to blame for this, right? Like that's just disgusting.
Ben, I blame Ben for part of it. Then
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take that.
Good.
At first, I got offended, but you're right. This is somehow my fault.
This just feels like I wonder how many more of these we'll see. Like what other companies have the IP catalog to try to make a run at this? Because it feels like there's just an element of like, well, everyone knows that Smash Brothers is done, so there's going to be some kind of gap. They see the hype that happens around those character announcements, and they're like, we got characters. Characters are welcome, in fact.
Give me
Ooh, Burn Notice guy.
non-IP
Triple H.
a
Psych.
non-IP platform
They own JoJo.
fighter. A platform fighter that takes place in a mall. And each of the different characters represent different stores. So there's like a goth character who's the Hot Topic character.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
like a Cinnabon themed character, right? And like you could fight in the
Auntie
food
Anne's.
court. You could fight at the Sears.
But like, no one's gonna get like, no one's gonna tune in for your fucking like Mall Fighter Direct when they're just like, I hope it's Sears this time.
Yeah.
Oh, Sears joins the battle. Fuck.
All right, well,
Another sword
what's
guy.
your big platform fighter, Jeff?
I want them all one.
I think you have to. I mean, I don't know. Like, to me, this all just seems desperate and sad. The same way PlayStation All Stars did. It just seems like a cynical, just like
Space Jam did.
Yeah, of just like, fuck it. Like, we saw what they did with Smash Brothers. We think we can make one of those. Like, the Nickelodeon one at least has some heart to it, and it's like endearing in a way that it's like budget, but they're like, we know there's no voice lines. We would love to make it better. But at the same time, that's kind of the same deal here. It's just Warner feels like they've been trying to dig around at this a little bit longer in some different ways, whether it was like Lego Dimensions or Space Jam 2 or whatever. And so I don't know. This just seems sad in that, like, hey, 5 companies own all the IP, and all 5 of them are eventually going to try to fucking fart one of these out.
You know who could do a platform fighter and it'd make everyone very upset, and they have the catalog to do it? Do another Marvel versus Capcom, but it's a platform fighter now.
Sure.
Yeah.
That'd piss people off.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
That'd do it.
I like platform fighters, and that would make me upset.
I think that if you actually wanted to do that cool, but didn't want to just make a full-on proper fighting game, you make a new Power Stone, and you make it Marvel vs. Capcom, because people want a new Power Stone.
Just a 3D
because
brawler.
they're,
yeah.
I don't think they understand that they don't actually want a new Power Stone, but people seem to want a new Power Stone.
All I know is once this game comes out and once they put Rick and Morty in as DLC, I will be able to become a platform fighter player who uses Rick and Morty as my main character, and I will ascend to become the most toxic person on the internet.
Yeah, when Ben and I were doing the Nickelodeon All-Stars Quick Look, Ben got real toxic real fast. After he showed me how to wave dash, he was like, yeah, Jen, and after you knock someone out, you do wave dashes for fun. Proceeded to knock me out and then wave dashed on my face.
Yeah, but then you did it to me, and you said how much fun it was.
Because I learned from watching you, Ben.
Yeah.
Welcome to the cycle of bullying.
Huh.
Does that game have sex kicks in it?
No. No sex kick.
Thank you for not teaching me whatever that was, Ben. Games are coming out, kind of. Not in the best state. Jeff, Ben, you guys kind of alluded to this before we went to break earlier. Ben.
Okay. I didn't know you were. Yeah. I mean, Jan, if you're gonna take control of moving us around the news space, you gotta hand it to me and reach your arm out so I can see that your arm is out, and I will grab it from you. Are you ready for the? Okay, let's try it again. You said new games are coming out.
Don't control well, Jeff. Ben, you all alluded to it.
Okay, you physically. If people aren't watching, Jan physically reached his arm out. I was talking more of a marathon.
Yeah.
Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack is out, and it doesn't have an expansion pack, so you can't have Mario 64 ghosts in it.
Huh. Yeah. All right.
That's not the whole headline, but yeah, people have gotten their hands now on the N64 games offered via the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack. This is the $50 a year new plan that they rolled out.
A year?
That includes the Animal Crossing DLC and Genesis and N64 games, and
as well as all the other. I mean, that's for the full. That's not the expansion price. That's the full price for, and you have the regular online service with the SNES and NES stuff, and the ability to play Switch games on the internet. Yay!
Yeah.
This stuff sounds fucked up. I have access to this. They sent a code over for it, but I have not tried it yet. Last night as this stuff was coming out, you saw various speedrunner types and input lag junkies picking this stuff apart and realizing the number of different ways where this is not as good as even it was on the Wii U.
Wow.
Okay.
Yes.
And there's a lot of different stuff here.
I'll just run down really quick. These are some things that people have picked out. As I mentioned, Mario 64 can't save ghost data because they didn't emulate expansion packs. I know that's something that hobbyist emulators have solved years ago.
Oh, I mean, yeah, hobbyist emulators have solved all of these
illegal hackers.
These illegal hackers.
Yes, that's right. Nefarious ne'er-do-wells in the
Black
shadows. Ultra HLE, whatever. Yeah, so Mario 64, I believe, like by default saved to the cartridge for most of the record data and all this other stuff. But if you wanted to save ghosts, you had to put in a controller pack to save to that. And because they did not emulate saving to the controller pack, you get to that menu and it just says no controller pack found. Which is already right off the bat, like, whatever, maybe a minor deal to some, whatever. I don't think Mario 64 is a good game to begin with, but the idea that Nintendo, the makers of these games, are putting this thing out and charging this amount of money, and then you look at that and you go, you couldn't even be bothered to emulate a fake fucking controller pack. Already, this is like, what are you doing? But that's like the most minor of things when we get to the rest of this list. I'm sorry, go ahead.
The rest of the list includes frame rate issues for Yoshi's Story and Star Fox 64, 6-ish, this is unconfirmed, additional frames of input lag for Ocarina of Time.
I've seen some people say 2, but yeah, I saw some other people saying 6, so it seems like the jury is still out.
Yeah. There's some weird visual stuff where they like got rid of a bunch of the fog, which sounds good in theory, but then when you realize what it actually looks like, I don't know, Jan, if you're able to show those photos.
Oh my god, it looks so bad. I want to see the Silent Hill remaster where they get rid of the draw distance of the fog, because that's what these look like.
Yeah, it looks bad. It looks worse. Like it straight up looks worse. If you want to play the Japanese version of Mario 64 that featured Rumble, you have to switch your Switch's region to Japan. You can't just choose that in the game.
They do have the ability to choose whether you want like the US or European versions of some games, though. Like they have a region select in there in some cases because like PAL versions ran at different speeds or whatever. So they tried to honor that, but didn't do this.
Yeah. There's no rewind capability, which they never said there was going to be, but people kind of assumed there are.
At this point, you should expect it. I feel like.
Right? Yes, I was reading somebody talking about how it's much more RAM intensive to do rewinds for N64 games than like SNES games. So that's maybe like a forgivable one. At least they have save states. I saw somebody in our chat say you straight up can't save WinBack in WinBack. You just cannot save your game outside of save states. I mean,
a lot of third-party games, because of the cost, did not include internal batteries in their N64 carts. Yeah. So if Nintendo has not properly emulated the controller pack to save games to, then yes, you would have to use save states to save any such games.
Yeah, yeah, it's just a mess. Like you would expect for the price they are charging. Obviously, they're not charging an additional $35 a year for this alone, but come on.
I don't understand how this feels like a slap together last minute thing to make up space on a calendar, right? But this dropped last night, right? After Metroid Dread, they could have just let that keep going instead of pushing this. Because there's a bunch of tweets of other stuff of the performance, like Mario Kart looks like Garbo, looks really bad.
And you can't. So obviously they're selling an N64 controller, and the N64 controller is weird. To be fair, like it is very hard to map one of those to a modern dual analog controller properly with how those games used the C buttons, and it was basically 6 buttons on the face like a Saturn controller in some cases.
Yeah.
And no one has done that since then. So since the N64 and Saturn. So, but they have chosen defaults that are insane in some cases for certain types of games. They've mapped the C buttons to the right stick, which is, you kind of have to do what you can with that. But some games don't use that as a directional. They use them as buttons. And And the only way you can remap that stuff is by going out to the system level, which lets you remap everything for every game. So you can't just go in and say, oh, for this N64 game, for Star Fox, it makes sense for this to be set up like this, but for Ocarina of Time, I want this. No, you can't do that. On the Wii U, again, the Virtual Console games that they sold individually on the Wii U had that functionality.
Winning, baby. Let's go. Wii U Nation, rise up.
Yes. Yes, the Wii U Nation. We thank you for your support. So this is just insane. It just, you just look at it and go like, wow, it really, I think, paints an increasingly clear picture that Nintendo really doesn't care about its legacy. When you think about the 3D All-Stars thing going on sale, coming off of sale, you think about this product, and the limitations around it. Like, there's just an aspect of like, these are all solved problems in the hobbyist space. If Nintendo wanted to go, I'll tell you this, there are ways to play N64 games on a Switch better than this already.
Are you advocating crime, Jeff Chrisman?
No, that's the thing. I'm not. It's not illegal. It's just gray and weird. And so, same. But also, like, these problems have been solved a dozen times over the last 20 years, and there's a lot of that is open source. Like, if Nintendo had just wanted to lean on any one of these open source solutions and say, hey, we used portions of this code, we licensed this, we did this the right way. Instead, they seemingly went and built their own solution. I don't know if they built it from scratch or if this is adapted from whatever they did on the Wii U and they just fucked it up. Like, I don't know. We'll probably never know. But like, they did not do a great job. And also remember, like, for them to go out and license an open source emulator would kind of require them to maybe back down from their position that all emulation is piracy and all this other stuff. So they've kind of painted themselves into a corner with a little bit of that stuff. Also, it really seems like, I believe this was a Frank Cifaldi GDC talk, if I remember right, that one of the Virtual Console versions of like Super Mario Brothers had INES headers in the ROM, which are not part of a normal cartridge dump. That's a header that the community, the emulation developer community agreed upon and built out and fleshed out over time to say, hey, here's how this cartridge is made up and this mapper system and all this other stuff. So, they've dabbled. Nintendo has dabbled into the dark arts as much as they.
Yeah, and this type of reaction is kind of like, it's, Nintendo kind of put the bullet in the chamber here with the fact that they have been so vocally anti-piracy for so long. And it reminds me a little bit of like the old like CD Projekt story of how they started out, of like the way in which they got people in Poland to not pirate games and to buy the box copy. Wasn't to like try and stamp out piracy. It was impossible. You can't do it. It was to make it so that the box version was like full of extras and goodies and care and love and attention, and you felt like you were buying something important that was curated for you. And this is fucking Nintendo. So like, look at like the Activision thing that Drew was working on, the little
Blizzard collection. Yeah.
Right. In that, right. So, there's like little interviews and like game art, and you can flick between the two of them. And this is Nintendo, and they're doing this on something that's like installed by default for anyone who has the online service, and then they're asking her for more for this, and they couldn't have like gotten the basics right, let alone to try and make it this like additive thing, right? They didn't even hit the low water mark. It's such a bummer.
And so many people, like, it's so fascinating when you do see some of that material get out, right? Of like, here's graph paper that someone was using to design Super Mario Brothers 1 levels.
Oh my god!
And just like little bits and pieces that have gotten out over the years, and of course the big like Giga Leak stuff of work in progress material that got out illegally. Like these little glimpses into Nintendo's history are endlessly fascinating, but because they choose to not put those people on display and not do that work and not do those interviews, it's a shame, because it's like that information is not going to be around forever. Those people are not going to be around forever, and they're in a position to do this significantly better, both from an emulation perspective, and also from that curation perspective. But I think on both counts, if you look at what they've done in the past, what they're doing now, they just don't care enough to do it as a business, or you know, like they're not interested in their own legacy, and that's fine. I think, you know, tons of companies do that. They don't give a shit about their legacy. They're always trying to move forward and make something new. So when you get to like these all-stars projects and stuff, and you take that to Japan, to the people that actually made it, maybe they are going to be like, we just don't care. We know we're not interested in that. Like we don't necessarily even want to do that project to begin with. But if you're going to do it, here's a bunch of arbitrary restrictions about how we do and don't want to do it. And it's sad. It's sad.
Yeah.
Nintendo was so beloved in that way that like people would love that material. People would love access to that material. They would eat it up, and it's a chance for Nintendo to like control the narrative of it as well by putting it out themselves, and instead of like bits and pieces that slip out over the years. And you know, but you end up with this situation where you're just like, what was Miyamoto really like when they were making this game? Like, oh, I don't know. We'll never know. Like, you know, just fucking tell the stories. Partner with someone to tell the stories.
Jokes aside about like the Wii U, I mean, that was a generation of console that I missed out on. But how are those ports like received? Because it seems like a point of comparison, like a lot of
virtual console, was it?
Yeah, the virtual console stuff was.
They are. I remember them maybe okay enough. I think was probably the right thing. There is like they were acceptable. Like people didn't always love paying an individual price for those games.
Yeah, pricey.
And you know, they also were not perfect. But it gets to a point where like, you know, 6 frames of input lag on Ocarina of Time, a game that already kind of runs janky to begin with, is going to be pretty noticeable to people that are, you know, that game's not going to feel great because that game kind of didn't feel great already. Sure. So you don't have to be a speedrunner to necessarily pick that up and go, ugh, what's wrong with this? You might not figure out what is wrong with it, but it will not feel right in your hand. So yeah,
was there any of that curated stuff on Virtual Console? I'm like having a hazy memory that there might have been.
Not really. No. The closest that I think they've come, the neatest thing they've done with any of this stuff on Switch is provide save states that are like, here's a late game save with a bunch of shit unlocked, or hey, you can play on this weird difficulty that, you know, is hard to unlock, and you know they've provided some save states, and that's kind of neat. But I think everything they've done on the Switch with regards to old games is like borderline embarrassing.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess there's a game, I don't remember which game it is, but there's a game out there that is emulating a Saturn. This is, I believe, a commercial product on the Switch that has a straight up Saturn emulator in it. And so people have picked that apart and are injecting other Saturn games into it.
Weird.
I feel like if the price stayed unchanged, this would not sting so bad though.
Totally.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
It'd just be like, hey, that was a bummer. Move on.
But it's like, hey, it was $0 for this bad thing. Like, okay.
Yeah.
But instead they're like, hey, we've decided to charge an additional fee that it seems, even if these were totally fine ports of these games and all this other stuff, or well emulated, you would still be like, that's a weird price to have to pay for fucking Winback and this handful of other games. I don't think I agree with that. For them to then come out and be messed up, it's like, what are you doing? Why are we doing this? You're wasting everybody's time.
Yeah.
No one needs this. Care. Just try to care.
It is, the price increase is like, I mean, what is that? 150% price increase?
It's like an extra $30 a year, I think is what it is. Yeah.
Took a lot of effort to get rid of the fog. Okay.
I get it.
Sure. I don't know. I also feel weird that this expansion includes the new Animal Crossing DLC.
Yeah. That's
something feels odd about that.
How it's attached, it seems strange.
Yeah.
And that probably makes it make sense for some people that are like, well, I was going to buy that Animal Crossing DLC anyway. I might as well just subscribe to this service, and I'll also get bad N64 games and okay Genesis games.
Oh. Yeah, like I'm gonna buy that DLC, and I'm not upgrading. It's not worth it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
total.
but for the family pack, it jumps up to $80.
Yeah, the family pack
is
gets weird.
Which gives you 6, right?
8, I think it is.
8.
It feels like they're really basically saying like, hey, we're aware that all of you are in secret clubs where you're sharing your family pass stuff and only paying $10 a year for it or whatever. So they're pricing it to that standard, but I'm not doing that. It's just me and my wife. Because what I'm saying is I got 6 slots open. If you want in.
All right, I'll Zell you.
Let me know.
After this.
Yeah.
Ben, I honest to God have no idea what FaZe is.
I was going to ask if anyone here did, because I had heard
It's a
of
brand,
them.
man.
I thought FaZe was a dude.
You ever been to you ever seen the G Fuel in the they got FaZe G Fuel up in the 7-Eleven now, right next to the PewDiePie G Fuel up in the 7-Eleven, up right next to the Sonic the Hedgehog G Fuel up in the 7-Eleven.
Do they have the FaZe Clan's Battle Juice flavor of G Fuel?
I believe that is the only flavor that is licensed to FaZe Clan.
FaZe Clan, $1 billion company? Question mark? Maybe, but they got evaluated and they went public with $1 billion valuation.
They merged with a company that was already public, I think is what the is that what it is? They're doing a merger with a company that is public, and that will make them public on the other end of this. Yeah. So it's like slightly different than just the full-on IPO.
A merger with a special purpose acquisition company. Yeah. So yeah, it's
an inflated valuation for a company's whose value is based in its image. Never.
Yeah.
It's like cool. Yeah. This is the next level of the snake oil. Not to be that dour about it, but like. Fuck, man.
Well,
there's a lot
and all
of
this
money.
stuff.
It's not exclusive to FaZe Clan. Plenty of companies get overvaluated at IPO time.
Absolutely.
Sure.
But, yeah.
CNET. No.
If it was public.
CBS was psyched when the day after they bought that.
Not too much to say about this. I think it is funny though that to put it in context, this is a quarter of what Marvel paid for all of Star Wars.
Jesus Christ.
In 2012, but like
Right.
Yeah.
It's different money in a different
still
era.
very funny to think about for me.
Yeah, who knows
guess,
if this is real money, you know? This could be all in NFTs and whatnot.
Yeah, I think for me, I just thought that FaZe was kind of on the way down a little bit. And I'm not super deep in this world, right? Obviously, but like I feel like my impression, the only time I ever really saw people talking about FaZe, it was to clown on it, or it was people writing FaZe in their Call of Duty clan tag, even though they're definitely not part of that fucking team.
Right, which is fine though, because that's the trick. Is like you're hearing negative feedback about it, which means it's grown to a point that there is enough positive feedback out there that people have to now start being contrarian about it, which is a net win for them because you probably weren't hearing anything about FaZe before you started hearing.
I guess, but I thought that like when it came to the whole like, hey, we're an esports team, but also we're a streetwear brand, lifestyle brand, like trying to spin off of just the fucking esports winnings, which obviously is not $1 billion company. No. But if you can say, hey, we're selling you a fucking dream baby, and it's this shirt that we only made 1,000 of,
yes,
and
trying to be the esports supreme.
And that's their thing, is they make all their money with sponsorships and deals, like with McDonald's and G Fuel and DC, this horrible, horrible looking Batman X.
Yeah, don't open that up. Don't open that up.
No, please, Jan, please show it, everyone.
No,
I'm looking at it and I'm legitimately confused. I have no idea what's going on.
What are you confused about?
Who are these people?
Well, they're
human NFTs. Don't worry about it.
One of them's probably FaZe Banks. He's the only guy I know.
I want to see these fuckers fight Austin Powers. Make it happen, video games.
So aren't there like 100 people in FaZe Clan, right?
Just keep cycling them in and out.
So I feel like whenever I looked at teams like this, like they've tried to grow beyond the pure, like here's someone who's really good at Call of Duty. Here's our players that are really good at this game. Right. To like now we've got a handful of people that are just streamers. We've got like this guy's just big on TikTok.
Yeah, there's going to be like a keyboard guy. I'm telling you, it's going to happen.
Are you going to be FaZe Clan's fucking keyboard guy?
Yeah.
Oh no!
We need a fridge
Well, I'm
guy.
100 Thieves now, motherfucker. Like,
But that's what it is. It's just like wrestling factions. It really is.
Fuck,
Like
it's boy bands. It's pop. This is
Yeah,
what it's turned into.
gigantic
It's just
boy band.
this now.
For
It's
sure.
But like
just a
in the
different way to
Japanese
sell shit.
form of like everyone has to sign to a management company that then exploits the shit out of them.
And there's 15 of you,
Yeah.
so that no one of you has
you're
enough
all
power.
replaceable. It's like,
Yes.
oh, this guy said what race? Oh, gee, we need to cut ties with this fucking toxic motherfucker. Don't worry, there's 14 more that haven't fucking shown their true colors yet. The money's still coming in. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like FaZe only came up in a negative sense because like it was like people clowning on it, and I felt like 100 Thieves had kind of become the
cool,
the like brand that like seemed a little more interesting. But then they built some facility in the middle of nowhere and fucking like sold the naming rights to it, and it was like 100 Thieves fucking Cash App training grounds or some shit. It was like fucking
Crypto.com.
video games. Yeah, video games got bad, and that was before all this fucking NFT shit. So I have to imagine
it's like it's
capitalism
it's-
was the problem. Turns out.
But I feel like somewhere in between all the knocks we've been listing off, that's what the answer is. It's just like they're just like this dubious sort of like team that just can get away with wearing like a numbered jersey everywhere, and that's what it is. Like and as someone who's kind of keyed into that scene a little bit, I can't get to the bottom of it, but
into that scene.
Yeah, I can't get to the very bottom of it, but like they're sort of like it's just like this it's like this brand crew.
It's just a life. There's nothing complicated about this. It's a fucking
lifestyle
lifestyle brand.
It's a lifestyle brand.
It's just
And
that
then
the vector
with a bunch
for
of
how they-
influencers that are
engage with people.
it's like the company they control every part of it, like the marketing,
Yes.
distribution, like all that sort of stuff. Like they've
the
closed the loop.
merchandise
Yeah.
to the person selling
Exactly.
the merchandise.
Like it's all one thing. And I think it makes total sense. The woman over there who's the COO was like head of sales for GameSpot for a very long time and made that site a fuck ton of money.
Who is it?
Right up until the point I got fired. JC Hayes.
You're kidding. She's running that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
She's the COO of FaZe Clan.
Unsurprising.
Makes a lot
it's
of
making
sense.
a lot of money.
And you're like, okay, yeah. No, she has still found ways to make a fuck ton of money on the internet.
From places nobody else can seem to do it.
Exactly. So,
Shit. All right.
So I'm not that surprised by this move. It's like, yep, no, that sounds like something that would happen. She was very good at that shit.
Yeah.
Apparently, FaZe released a movie in October of last year.
It's called
and they have
Batman.
like music too.
It's called FaZe Batman.
I feel like
FaZe bracket. Black man.
Yeah.
There's also someone on their owner team called Rug. So I don't know what the internet is anymore. I have become out of touch.
If it's making Jan feel out of touch, we're all fucked.
Yeah. Ben, what else you got in terms of
They've
stories?
they got pumpkin stencils.
I don't know. What do you guys feel about these last two? I feel like they're pretty.
Ben, I think you said you had a hard out in
inconsequential.
25 minutes. We're going to get to emails.
Yeah, the last
put out
one. The last one.
The last one.
God of War is coming to PC. Finally.
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
It's going to be on Steam and Epic for $49.99 on releases January 14th, 2022. It will feature the ability to play at 4K with an unlocked frame rate, which is great because I think that game looked gorgeous, and the only complaints about it running was a little bit of staggery frame rate here and there. So the PC version of it should be quite beautiful, I think.
Yeah.
Would you guys play that game again?
Sure.
100. Never completed it because the swimminess of the frame rate or whatever it was, like I enjoyed it just fine, but it wasn't there for me. So I'm 100% gonna burn through
I'll certainly give it a look, but
that game made my PS4 sound like it was going to explode. So I would enjoy playing that game. And not
wait until you
worry.
hear your GPU coil whine, baby.
Oh boy. Sick. Well, I guess that was the news. Thank you, Ben, for collecting all those stories, but no thank you for introducing the world of FaZe into my life.
I'm sorry.
You knew what it was.
I've heard
FaZe
it
Jam.
before, but I thought it was like a dude.
It's everywhere. It's
you
all
thought-
of us.
It's all of us.
It's the culture, Jan.
Are you in FaZe Clan?
Jan.
Anyway, oh god,
FaZe Jan. You would tell us. You would tell us, right?
You guys would know. This headband would just say FaZe. I'd be drinking nothing but like straight dry G Fuel FaZe.
Just fucking doing rails of the powder.
Yep.
Straight.
I like to mix mine with coffee.
I'm going to be very disappointed if the podcast name isn't FaZe Jan now.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
I enter it in, so I guess I'll do it.
Don't forget the capitalization.
Is that the right phase? Like FA capital ZE? Is that
FaZe,
or is that a different
yes.
phase?
That's right. Yeah.
FaZe. All right. Well, we'll be back after this break with some voicemails and some emails. See you in a bit. Ben Pack, I know that this batch of voicemails particularly grossed you out, but you can say something about it. Ben?
Speak.
Ben, come on.
Coward.
Well, I guess Ben's not feeling well enough to talk about these voicemails. We'll play the theme tune for him. You know, maybe that'll lift his spirits. But Ben, you can go ahead and exit stage. Right? Left.
Stage?
Oh, he just faded away.
What stage?
He just faded
okay.
away. But Ben collected some voicemails for us.
Voicemail dump trick. Voicemail dump trick. Voicemail dump trick.
Thank you.
They won't let you write the word ass on the back of a custom FaZe Clan jersey.
What about $$?
That is totally fine.
Sick.
Wait, what did we call
You
me
can make
during
your
the
own
break?
jerseys?
Can you put killer dumps?
for $80 they'll
Well,
sell
let's
you a
try
character limit.
try killer dumps.
Oh wait, I'm sorry, I closed the window.
Oh, but like no E in killer, so it's like killer.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Because that's what I would do for FaZe.
I put I put a
dumps.
screenshot of the interface in the Slack if you want to
Oh
Well,
shit.
see that. I don't know.
We mentioned this during the break, but if anyone is a Fortnite coach, FaZe is looking for people to coach their team. Oh, can you choose the sponsor, Jeff, or is it locked into
No,
Nissan?
you can't choose a sponsor. You can choose a country flag.
There's 46 pages of country flags.
What?
There's about 50 on each page. So I think it's every country.
Yeah, it's a
So
lot of
shout out
that's
to
way more
Andorra.
than- Yeah, I mean,
Finally.
I apologize for the audio listeners. We're just looking at a custom jersey you can make for yourself on the FaZe website. Anyway, Ben,
why don't you get yourself a custom onesie pajama instead? How about that?
I had notes. It was going to be like a fun little bonus thing at the end.
You can do it
I
twice. You
I
keep
thought
selling,
yeah,
man.
we could
Always be selling.
We could sell them now and later too.
That's true. Okay, for the
Maybe they'll forget.
we announced this on UPF, but pre-orders are currently open for the loveliest onesie I've ever seen. I'm scared to open up my folders to see which picture of Rory is first to pop
Yep.
up.
Ooh,
Make
yeah,
sure
you
you
gotta,
got safe
be
search turned
careful.
on.
Yeah,
But for the rest
seriously.
of this week, pre-orders are still open for the Giant Bomb onesie. Stitching does look really nice. I've never been more allured by Matthew Rory staring into
right? Look what it
his
made him
footy
look
pajamas. There is a butt flap for those curious.
Is
we
that
have
for
not-
pooping? Or
Flapped
can
up.
I use it for other things?
like. Yeah,
You can use it
that's
for
actually,
other things, I think.
Okay.
I guess
The world's your
Yeah.
oyster, baby.
whatever you need to do back there, easy
Yeah,
access.
Hide a hot dog for later.
Yeah,
Couple
blood
of hot
suppository.
Among other things. Before Ben had to dip, he suggested 2 voicemails that we play, and this is the first one.
So I walked into the chemistry building bathroom after lab today, and the men's room smelled like weed, really, really bad. So I walked around the corner, and I saw somebody had pulled down the baby changing station, and there was like little bits of weed all over it. And somebody had crossed out the word baby station and wrote blunt station. So I guess my question is, would you change your child on the blunt station, or would you ask to use the women's room? Thank you.
someone's like some sort of like environmental storyteller decided to like show up.
Awesome. Not
in
since
that
Chicago
bathroom.
Ted.
As the
Holy
one
shit.
person that's not a father here, I don't think I would change a child at a normal bathroom baby station.
I mean, it's for those emergencies, really.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's like
You
a
know,
beggars can't be choosers sort of thing. But
Yeah.
This ain't Chipotle.
we'll often do it on the back of like in the back of the car, like open
Sure.
up the hatch on it and just change a kid right there.
there's probably a line graph floating out there somewhere where like as time goes, like your fucking willingness to change your child's shitty butt diaper, just the you don't care at the end of that spectrum. You're just like, fuck, we'll do it right here on this picnic table bench in front of everybody.
Yeah.
Like it don't matter.
We're at the stage now where we'll just be like, there's no bathroom around here. Let's just find a fucking bush and you can go pee there. Just like,
Hell yeah.
it's fine.
Wow. That's bush training. Like is that was like a intermediate step on the way to potty training, or
Yeah. Oh no, she's potty trained, but she can.
Okay.
She if we're not.
how old was she when you started? Because we're thinking about it. We bought the little seat that goes in the toilet, but
Yeah.
it's a fun toy. But as soon as we get it near the toilet, no bueno.
No
She
go.
does not like that. So
We have the very annoying story of one day she just decided, like maybe it was when she was around 2, she just said, I want to go potty, and then she just did it.
Cool.
So I did no work.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that happened. It
Yeah.
just luck of the draw.
I was apparently not too far off from that when I was
Right.
that age.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, okay, so you have no useful advice for me about how to solve this problem. Great.
Absolutely none.
There's
I have
no,
none.
there's not, because everyone has like some sort of magic solution to it, right? Like I feel like everyone's like, yo, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna make my kid butt naked for 4 days straight, and
Right.
that's what we're gonna.
Yeah.
It's like that doesn't seem
like
like
what
the
like
way to- I
elimination
don't-
communication or whatever. It sounds like nonsense. It's like what?
It sounds
Who
like
would
you're
do
on
that?
Nickelodeon Guts, is what it sounds
Yeah.
like. I'm not
Gross.
really trying to fucking do. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, I shouldn't talk. I had it as easy as Danny did, but yeah, I don't know if the whole like forcing the kid to be naked all for a weekend is some move
So this is
either.
all to say that, like, when it comes to shit and kids, the last thing that really matters is whether or not somebody made a joint. Like that's like,
Yeah.
sure,
Oh, come
that's-
on.
That's
the
fine.
least of our
Like if
problems
there's
here, yeah.
residue on it, I'm like dusting that off,
Yeah.
right? And be
Just
like,
put a
like,
mat
get-
down.
yeah,
Touch your.
Done.
but
Just
but
think
whatever.
about what else is on that. Like it's a fucking public toilet. There's going to be like
Yeah.
pee and shit from
Dude,
years
honestly,
tossed
the
into
blunt-
the atmosphere.
The blunt guy is really the gross one here, because my man just
Yeah.
rolled a blunt on a fucking shitty diaper changing table. What are you doing?
Which nobody has
How did
washed.
it come to this? How did
And
it come to
definitely-
this?
Definitely has
know?
shit on it. Definitely has
Yeah, no
multiple
thanks, dude.
children's shit on it.
Yeah. If anything, they cleaned it off for you. So go ahead and use the blunt
Yeah,
station.
seriously, it's never
Yeah.
been cleaner.
Ben also suggested this voicemail.
Hey, this is Nathan from Tumwater, Washington. You guys had to either dress up as all of the band members from KISS or all of the characters from Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh
What would you
no.
guys rather pick? Thanks.
At the same
I think-
time?
Yeah, like if
like as a
us
group
four-
costume or something,
Oh,
right?
okay.
I'd probably I'd rather do the Sonic people.
I think
Yep.
I'd do the Sonic.
I don't want face
But I-
paint. It's gross.
No,
face paint's
yeah.
gross.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that the Sonic version of this is like some fucked up face paint Sonic, not like a mascot thing you can just wear.
Well,
right?
here's the thing: you can't get away with it with Kiss, right? I guess you could wear
Yeah.
a fucking Kiss mask, but then you're just a fucking asshole. I mean, with Sonic,
Yeah, you
you just need you're all right. I feel like if we're trying
With
to avoid
Sonic,
face
you're
paint.
all right. That's the slogan.
Yeah.
Don't forget, kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes without saying, I think, if it's a mascot head or something, that's fine. What if you did have to do the face paint in both cases?
Oh shit!
I'd still do
I
Sonic.
would figure out which one is like less face paint, and I figure Sonic. I think Sonic would be the answer there,
It's blue.
as opposed to Kiss. Or just like, well, it wouldn't be
mean,
blue because Sonic's face isn't pure blue. It's,
Yeah, they just
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
do like the eye whites really big.
yeah.
Oh yeah, paint the eyes big.
Get a cute little nose.
You could always be like Eggman.
I'd be Eggman,
and just
yeah.
have a big mustache.
Yeah.
Nothing
Jim
wrong with
Carrey.
that. All right. We do have a bunch of voicemails, and thank you, people, for calling in. That number is 707-EXIT-FLU. But let's just play one more, and then we'll get to some emails.
Hey guys, this is Tim from Rhode Island calling. If you could only take one, which one would you take? The odd number Final Fantasies or the even number Final Fantasies? Thanks.
What does this do for like 10-2? I guess technically
even.
that's still a even number one.
Doesn't. Yeah. Well, sure. We'll allow it. I was gonna say it doesn't count, but you get 4. You get 6. You get 4 and you get 6. Like I feel like right there. Like you throw the rest away and you're still coming out okay.
I like 8 a lot. That's when they first introduced that gun blade. That's a sick idea.
Mm.
You get
It
14.
is a sick idea.
You get 14 with
You get
the
14.
even-numbered ones.
You get
It's
14.
the only one I care about. 14. So even.
3, 5, fuck 7, fuck 9, fuck 11. Yeah, even. It's evens. It's easily evens.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's evens.
Means you got the next one too.
Ooh.
Yeah. The chaos one.
Bonus. Yeah, I'll go with the group. I don't know enough about Final Fantasy.
All right, let's read off some emails. We've got some emails right now. Emails. Thank you, Danny. Email address is bombcast@giantbomb.com. Ben in Boston writes, "Hi guys. A while ago, Jeff G said that he felt like the new generation of consoles felt like it was in early access. Do you feel like it's finally started in earnest by now? If so, when did it start to really feel that way? If not, what do you think it'll take before it no longer feels like a weird in-between period? Thanks, Ben in Boston."
Halo is what it will probably take. I think
For-
by the end of this year, by the end of this holiday, I think I will not feel that way anymore. They will still be hard to get, but
Yeah.
I think through the holiday we will get enough games on both of those platforms to where it'll not feel that way. But there's still just like a number of games that we get press releases for stuff all the time, and it's increasingly just like, this is out on PlayStation, and you're like, you mean PlayStation 4, don't you? Because you would have said PlayStation 5 if you meant PlayStation 5. But sometimes they do mean both. But usually they mean it's a PS4 game that technically runs on the PlayStation 5, so we're just gonna say PlayStation. And same deal with Xbox. Like companies don't like to differentiate in some cases as to what if they are making a native current generation game or not, especially when they are not.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel like it's just it's a number of first party games that need to come out to where it just feels like, hey, here are games that you can kind of only get on this stuff, which I guess actually, now that I'm saying that out loud for Xbox, that's never going to be true because all that shit's on PC.
Sure.
I don't know, stuff's
Xbox
weird now, I
definitely
guess.
feels more in one step in the past, and there's a couple of things on the PlayStation side, but even when you look at games like Forbidden West, that's going to come out on both, you know? Like,
yeah, it is. Yeah.
The only real game, like Ratchet, I guess, but the main game that makes me feel like I've got a PS5 is Demon Souls, which is a remake of an old game, you know? So it's kind of, I feel like with everything that's happened with all the slowdown in production for the consoles and games, like we're going to be in this fugue state for quite a while, like an uncomfortably long time, I think.
Yes, but I think, like what, Forza's out next week. You got Halo in December. I think on the Microsoft side, at least they will have, it will feel like they will have shipped enough first party games to where it feels more viable. I think Sony's probably just about there too. Returnal got that patch today.
Ooh.
They put out the patch that lets you fucking save your game, or like suspend it rather. It's not like a hard save. It's a suspend point. And it was this reminder of like that game came out this year, which doesn't feel like it did, but it sure did. It feels like a generation ago almost now, but It's none of those cases like Animal Crossing where it's like, yeah,
that
dude,
was only
Deathloop
PS5,
feels like it fucking it is, yeah. Deathloop feels like it came and went.
Yeah, right.
I feel like more and more people finished it, and then the twist in the story started getting talked about, and people were like, "Hey, this is fucking creepy," and you're like, "Oh, that is a little weird." I feel like when I do get back to that game, I'm gonna have to start over. Yeah, right. It does.
Like,
yeah,
you know.
I just don't think there's a lot more to kind of. You can explore and do some stuff after, but it's sort of.
Well, it's got all that multiplayer stuff that like sounds really intriguing. The same way like the Doom Eternal stuff that they canceled did, right? It was like, you know, hey, here's this like invasion, like invade someone's single player game and mess their stuff up. I think is a really neat idea, but unless you're building your matchmaking a certain way, like that multiplayer only functions as long as people are playing that campaign. And it seemed like a week after release, I was seeing people talk about like, oh, it's already like 3 minutes to get into a game, like just sitting at a menu matchmaking,
right.
like because it's so specific about where it will insert her into someone else's game.
Yeah.
Like you have to wait for someone to get to one of those points, I guess, and then wait in line. And that stuff, it was unfortunate to hear that as someone who was like not going to probably get to that game when it was in its prime.
Right.
Was this realization of just like, well, if I want that experience, I guess I need to wait until it's out on Xbox, because there'll be a new rush of players then that will be playing the campaign for the first time, and maybe I can get in then or something. But I don't know. I also kind of just fell off it. It's like it's a really neat game that I didn't always have a great time playing, and just moved on to other stuff. So.
I think it's demonstrative as well of just how many games have come out in the past 3 months.
Yeah.
Like we're talking like right when you were like about to take your time, that like, oh, like silly season's kind of starting, and that's why like Returnal feels like it was so far away, because we've just had like a shit ton of games, like even this week where it's a slow week, and it's like the amount of games we were talking about at the top of the show. Like I was trying to think back, like what's the earliest game that came out this year, and it's Hitman 3, which feels like it came out 2 years ago. Like,
right.
What?
It's
Hitman
so
3
strange.
was this year.
Yeah, that's January.
Terrifying.
No.
It's so weird. That's a game I want to go back and play shit.
Yeah.
Actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Check out some Hitman. Damn.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's some levels in that I definitely didn't wring everything out of.
Mm-hmm.
But who's going to find the time?
Yeah.
Like, am I going to go back and play these Hitman levels again, or am I going to play like one of the 20 games that, like, promising games that I haven't touched at all yet? You know, like it's definitely that time of the year. Like I was thinking about that with Far Cry earlier today.
Right.
Like I had a pretty good time with the handful of hours I spent with Far Cry, and like stopped and was like, oh, I'll get back to Far Cry at some point. I just want to mess with some other stuff. And
No, you won't.
no, I won't.
Yeah.
No,
Just watch my
I
wife
almost certainly
play
will
through it.
not. Yeah.
She's playing it a second time now.
Wow.
She's the Far Cry correspondent in this. and Assassin's Creed. She just plays those Ubisoft games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm halfway through Psychonauts 2, but I don't know if I'll ever get back to it.
I uninstalled Psychonauts. I got to a point with it where I was just like, I need this hard drive space, and realistically, I'm just not going to play this game any more than I already have. So, yeah.
Turns out
Darkest
it's been a
Dungeon
busy
2
year.
came out today as well, didn't it?
Yep.
Early
Yep.
access.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like early access, right? Yeah. Shit. It's crazy.
Mike from Texas. True Colors. Cyndi Lauper or Phil Collins?
Cyndi Lauper.
Cyndi Lauper.
Cyndi Lauper.
Backler.
I mean, I definitely have a spot for Phil Collins, but my favorite song of his isn't even his song. God damn it!
Which one is it?
He like owns Easy Lover in a way that he should not.
Yeah.
So
Is it Take Me Home? I think that's my favorite. Is that one? Is that the name of
that's
that
a
song?
good song. Yeah.
I like that song.
Yeah, it's me.
But Easy Lover, it's a fucking banger.
I mean, that's a banger. Come on.
Yeah.
Fucking
Goddamn.
that song claps, man.
Yeah.
All right. Y'all got time for maybe 2 more?
Yeah. Let's do 2 more.
Okay. You know what? This one's actually a long one. We'll just end the emails on this. Giovanni from Cologne, Germany writes in, hello,
Gamescom,
Duders.
baby.
I've been thinking about Japanese and Western name changes, and I think we should finally settle things. If you could change reality, which would you choose? Here's a list. Please pick for each one which name to keep and which to forget forever. These are some fun ones. All right. Mega Man or Rockman?
I'd take Rockman.
Rockman.
Rockman is just...
Is it named Rockman somewhere?
Japan.
In Japan. Yeah.
Japan, it's Rockman.
But why is it Rockman? There's nothing rock adjacent.
All
about
the villains are named after Guns N' Roses people.
In that one game, yeah. There's
Axel.
rock, there's
Axel
roll.
Man.
Now the character roll makes way more sense. There's a treble and a bass. There's a.
I'm sticking with Mega Man.
Mega Man. I like Mega Man.
Okay. If
Ben,
only
what
we
you
had a fifth person on the pod.
What if they called him Rockman Rock? I mean, that would be.
Or like Mr.
Rock.
Or like Mr. Rockman.
Rockman
Yeah.
I could go for.
Dwayne Johnson.
Resident Evil or Biohazard?
Oh,
I think Resident Evil is a good. I think Resident Evil is just a good
Resident Evil.
name. You know,
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
doesn't make
It's like
much
somebody.
sense,
It's
really,
like, exactly. It's like somebody who didn't know English sat down, looked at the game, and
Yeah.
with a dictionary, and went, "Well, it's a big fucking house, and there's
Yeah.
bad stuff going on," and they came up with 2 words that vaguely express that, which just created more than the sum of its parts. It's such a good
Yeah.
name.
Resident Evil is a great name.
Fatal Frame or Project Zero?
Fatal Frame.
Fatal Frame.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same deal. Like Danny mentioned for Resident Evil. Winning 11 or Pro Evolution Soccer?
Only Danny can answer this.
So here's
We
the
have no
answer.
right.
Both of these are terrible fucking names. But winning
Well, I
11.
think Pro Evolution is just.
Pro Evolution is the most fucking like nonsense. I don't know
what is that?
what's like boardroom came up with Pro Evolution Soccer. Winning 11, I think, is also very silly.
But it's memorable.
But it's exactly.
Yeah,
I think it's a fun name. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
What
calling
about
a
like,
hockey
you know,
team-
International Superstar Soccer 98, you know, something nice like that.
There is
It'd
a
be like
history of
calling-
just terribly named football
Yeah.
soccer games.
It'd be-
Yeah.
I mean, am I right that it would be like calling a hockey game Cold 5? Like
That'd be great.
That'd be
a
sick.
great
Cold
name.
5.
That'd
Cold
be
5 is
cool.
a fucking great. Yeah.
Cold
Or
5's not
Gridiron is a
bad.
great name for football. You know,
Yeah.
like that type
Yeah.
of, yeah. Winning 11 implies that you're not using any substitutes and there's like no manager or anything, but I still like it.
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, Cold 5.
So Danny, where did you land on this? Just
Oh no, winning 11, yeah, for
winning
sure.
11? Okay. All right. Street Fighter Alpha or Street Fighter Zero?
I mean, they're both equally kind of stupid, right? Like,
I kind of like Alpha.
I like Alpha more.
The thing, well, like the alpha games are set. What is it? It's between 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So it's like 0 doesn't even make pure sense because it's technically 1.5.
Oh yeah.
But I still think 0 is just a cooler word than alpha. You get 0 counters and or whatever, and you know, like instead of alpha counters. Like,
Are all
I
the
would take
alphas
0.
set between 1 and 2? I didn't realize that.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Makes a lot more sense. Alpha.
Backlar.
There is a game called Street Fighter 02 Alpha. If you really
Oh,
want to
Christ.
go down a rabbit hole here.
I'm indifferent here. I won't be the tiebreaker. So
You're still thinking about Cold 5.
I'm still like, how do I do
Cold 5.
something with this?
It's such a
shit
good
right
name.
now?
Dude,
I already got the Twitter
FaZe
handle.
Cold
I'm
5.
psyched. FaZe Cold. No, I'm killing dumps, man.
I didn't know this one.
Putting that on my
Darkstalkers
bowling shirt.
or Vampire?
I didn't know that either. But Darkstalkers is all right. Vampire's just vampire. What are you doing?
Well, so with Vampire, they elaborate on it for all the sequels. So you get like Vampire Hunter, Vampire Savior, and then like Vampire Savior 2. Like the numbering got fucking weird with those.
Is it spelled like regular vampire?
Yeah,
Regular
it is,
Vampire. Yeah.
Okay.
I would probably take Darkstalkers, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This one I have no feelings on. Very indifferent. Resonance of Fate or End of Eternity?
Oh, Jesus.
Tomato.
Yeah, those are.
Okay.
Can't help you there.
Meh, we'll say. Persona 4 Golden or Persona 4 The Golden?
What the hell are we doing?
Kind of like the Golden.
The
Just the
Golden.
word the.
Dude, it makes all the difference.
Yeah.
Does it?
Yeah. It's like, who's the Golden?
All right, the golden. There you have it.
The Golden. Yeah.
All
The
right.
golden.
Sega Genesis or Sega Mega Drive?
Oh, baby. Oh, I know. I knew it was coming.
Come on.
Mega.
I mean,
it's
Mega
Mega.
Drive is dope.
It's Mega
Mega
Drive.
Drive.
It's Mega
Mega
Drive.
Drive.
won.
you can't
We
get around.
finally won.
Yeah, we finally did it.
Two more. X or Circle to confirm.
I
I just want bottom button. I don't care what's on it. I just want bottom button to
Well,
confirm. across the board.
Sex.
Yeah.
I feel like what were the games that were a circle for a while? It was like Metal Gear, right? Was that what it was?
And
Metal Gear
game,
stuck with the Japanese.
I know the
circling,
Japanese
and then Nintendo platforms are still using that right button for forward.
I'll say this: I kind of think it's amazing that I don't have to think. My hands and muscle memory just know what to do, and I'm grateful that I'm still able to do that. So I'll take whatever I could get.
We'll just say bottom button.
Sure.
All right. And the last one. Also, I just want to say these are my favorite types of emails. This or that type of things or quizzes.
Do more.
It's almost like a survey that somebody you should always do one because they're fun.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Giantbomb.com/survey. Mentioned at the top if you're tuning in live.
You could have as much fun as us.
Around. Yeah. No ball questions. So I'm sorry and don't worry.
The size of your ball. Yeah.
Yeah. Last one. I had no idea about this. Bionic Commando or Hitler's Resurrection. Top secret.
Yeah.
Wait.
I mean,
for real? This is what it was called?
Yeah. I mean, it's more commonly discussed as just top secret. But yes, the subtitle on that game is, and also the final boss in the Japanese version of Bionic Commando is Hitler.
Out of nowhere.
Instead of Master D, which is what they replaced it with in the US version.
So, I mean, as far as I can remember, throughout Bionic Commando, you're not really fighting like Nazis, right? It's
but like they're just like enemy soldiers. You don't know what who they are representing. But in the Japanese version, it's a little more
it's like a surprise Hitler.
It's top secret. Turns out,
I guess his resurrection would be top secret.
I don't know if that would fly off the shelves. Is the thing.
Yeah,
top secret's a terrible name.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, "Hey, what should the first word of this game be? You guys thinking Hitler?" I mean,
it's a lot of empty inventory space on the on the HIT section of the games. Yeah.
Hitler's, so you want to call it Hitler first?
I think they made it top secret, and then they were like, "This name is too boring. We need to spice it up a little bit."
Well, remember also that so that the game we're talking about is the second Bionic Commando game. So there already was a game just straight up called Top Secret in arcades that was originally translated to Bionic Commando over here.
Okay.
And so by the time they got to that game, it was like, here's the home version, but we're making a completely different game because that arcade version sucks shit.
So what you're saying is there could have been a Bionic Commando Hitler's Revenge.
Yeah, I mean, sure, they could have they could have done that.
No.
What would the story have been if the 360 game was Hitler's Resurrection Top Secret Rearmed?
Ooh,
Hitler's.
You're asking the right questions, Jan.
Is in my arm, and I need to kill the Fuhrer.
Okay,
right.
Yeah,
strong.
All that on the back of the box.
Right.
Put that on the back of your FaZe jersey.
Ooh. I don't think it'll fit.
You think they'll let you write Hitler's Resurrection on the FaZe jersey?
Maybe
now you've got your podcast name.
Cold5 in front of it. I don't know.
All right. Well, that's.
I'm not going to open the website to find out. I'm just going to hope the answer's no.
I'm sorry for all the targeted ads you are now going to get, Jeff.
Going
on the website to begin with. But I'd like to thank everyone for listening at home, everyone that sent in an email, everyone that sent in a voicemail. Number for the voicemail, once again, is 707-EXIT-FLU, bombcast at giantbomb.com. We got a survey going out. For the rest of the week, the onesies are still up for pre-sale. Matthew Rory has a wonderful news story up on the site. We also got a new carousel on the site to help you figure and navigate out the website.
Yeah, some people are like, when the fuck is this happening? What's going on with this? And so after over a decade, we thought, what if we had something on the website that told people what the fuck was going on? So
yeah. I know there's a bunch of silly questions on the survey, but we really do value your input on it in helping us figuring stuff out and whatnot. A bunch of stuff going on this week.
Guilty Treasures, John Ochoa, baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man, Danny.
Hell of an episode. Hell of an episode.
You know the phrase "notice me, senpai," right?
Yes.
Oh, he left.
He heard
He's
anime.
uninterested.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I gotta go.
There's a quick flash of what it is. Yes.
It was an absolute blast shooting with you, sir. Fucking amazing. Danny O'Dwyer, this guy's so cool. I was telling Bacalar earlier. Damn, this guy's sick.
That guy. God damn.
Thanks for doing it. It was a lot of fun. It was a weird ass game, and any opportunity to put you front and center, Jan, I'll jump at. And the
You were
audience.
far too kind, sir. You were
Loving
far
that
too
too.
kind. Jeffs, thank you. Danny, thank you. Ben, thank you. Wherever you are. Salamat iyong suporta. As Apple to App, the hottest member of Black Eyed Peas once said.
The only member as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly. Ingat.